Hello and welcome, my name is Reese and today I'm going to be speaking to you about one of our channel partners, BITDEFENDER. Forever Sports is proudly supported by BITDEFENDER, one of the global leaders in cybersecurity. Stay safe with the most consistently top-rated antivirus of the last 10 years and counting. To protect yourself from cyber attacks, protect your browsing and personal information, and so much more, get BITDEFENDER. With BITDEFENDER's premium VPN, digital privacy and freedom is as easy as flicking on a light switch. Bank, stream, and download without exposing a single byte of personal information. Unblock your favorite streaming sites and get access to content that you want to watch on up to 10 devices today. Effective, invisible, and amazingly affordable. Use the link in the description to get started.
There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room. And damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date, you're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase. So catch me if I fall. Praying that this night's gonna last. You got it all on tap, I'm loving your vibe, always have your back. We like all the same tracks, listen all night in the sheets all black. Said I'm falling fast, don't remember life before you, that's facts. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date, you're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase. So catch me if I fall.
Hello everyone and welcome to Forever Sports. As one of the leading channels in the world providing free coverage of all of your favourite sports, we are asking for your support. Everything that we create at Forever Sports is available for free and always will be. To help us continue delivering high quality content, as well as expanding our coverage, we are asking you to consider supporting the channel by becoming a channel member. As part of the Forever Sports Members Club, you will gain access to select perks, such as exclusive stickers and emojis to use during our watch-alongs and live streams. You will also gain early access to premium content, as well as have your name listed on the channel under channel members. We strive to deliver quality content that is unmatched by other channels, and are always looking to take things up another level. And our members give us the chance to do this. It is thanks to our members and other support that we get from our fans that we are able to deliver campaigns such as the France 2023 on the ground coverage. So if you would like to continue supporting the channel and the free coverage that it provides, be sure to check the link in the description to become a channel member now. Hello and welcome, my name is Reese and today I'm going to be speaking to you about one of our channel partners, BITDEFENDER. Forever Sports is proudly supported by BITDEFENDER, one of the global leaders in cybersecurity. Stay safe with the most consistently top-rated antivirus of the last 10 years and counting. To protect yourself from cyber attacks, protect your browsing and personal information, and so much more, get BITDEFENDER. With BITDEFENDER's premium VPN, digital privacy and freedom is as easy as flicking on a light switch. Bank, stream, and download without exposing a single byte of personal information. Unblock your favorite streaming sites and get access to content that you want to watch on up to 10 devices today. Effective, invisible, and amazingly affordable. Use the link in the description to get started.
There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room. Damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great. I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date. You're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase. So catch me if I fall. Praying that this night's gonna last. You got it all on tap. I'm loving your vibe, always have your back. We like all the same tracks. Listen all night in the sheets all black. Said I'm falling fast. Don't remember life before you, that's fact. I feel good, you look great. I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date. You're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase. So catch me if I fall.
Hello everyone and welcome to Forever Sports. As one of the leading channels in the world providing free coverage of all of your favourite sports, we are asking for your support. Everything that we create at Forever Sports is available for free and always will be. To help us continue delivering high quality content, as well as expanding our coverage, we are asking you to consider supporting the channel by becoming a channel member. As part of the Forever Sports Members Club, you will gain access to select perks, such as exclusive stickers and emojis to use during our watch-alongs and live streams. You will also gain early access to premium content, as well as have your name listed on the channel under channel members. We strive to deliver quality content that is unmatched by other channels, and are always looking to take things up another level. And our members give us the chance to do this. It is thanks to our members and other support that we get from our fans that we are able to deliver campaigns such as the France 2023 on the ground coverage. So if you would like to continue supporting the channel and the free coverage that it provides, be sure to check the link in the description to become a channel member now. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports here for the Australian Grand Prix. We have about 15 minutes left to go. We've got all of the cars lined up on the grid, getting ready for the start of this race, getting ready for the start of the national anthem as well, watching Carlos Sainz and Fernando Alonso have a little chat before the start of this race, the two Spanish drivers. Fernando Alonso having qualified quite far down the grid, but Carlos Sainz starting up in P2 for today. It is going to be a very interesting start here. A couple drivers out of place. Sergio Perez and George Russell qualifying P6 and 7. Sergio Perez getting a good grid drop for impeding Nico Hülkenberg in qualifying. So he originally qualified, I think, in 4th, if I'm not correct. And now he's dropped all the way down to P6.
Yeah, and then further, obviously, going further up the field, there we've got Piastri in 5th, Leclerc in 4th, Norris in 3rd, and obviously, as you said, Sainz in 2nd, and the main man, Max Verstappen, in pole position. Now, do you think that's just going to make it an automatic win again for Max Verstappen? 3rd one in the row?
I think it's very likely, yes.
Yes. So we're going to have to hope that somebody else will take the fight to him today in Australia. Of course, we've got a couple of Australians there. We've just panned to them, Daniel Ricciardo and Oscar Piastri, for this Australian Grand Prix. What do you think that they can do there? Ricciardo a little bit unlucky in terms of his qualifying position, all the way down in 18th. And Piastri, on the other hand, up there in 5th. I mean, what can we expect from both drivers?
Well, from Daniel Ricciardo, I'm not expecting much, unfortunately. He's all the way at the back of the grid. He has not been having a great season already, really not being able to even match his teammate Yuki Tsunoda. So I've kind of lost faith in Daniel Ricciardo, unfortunately. As much as I do love him as a driver, he's just fallen out of form, I think. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see him getting a replacement season. Oscar Piastri, on the other hand, though, has been improving in his race pace and his racecraft. With that qualifying place of P5, I think that could really provide him with a couple of opportunities to make some overtakes today. I think I wouldn't doubt him making a move on Charles Leclerc into the first corner if he has the opportunity.
Yeah, well, I think McLarens are certainly going to be something to watch because they're starting a little bit further up the field than they have for the first two races. So I think they might be looking to try and score as many points as possible today. Can they take that fight to the Ferrari, though?
Well, we'll have to see what the Ferrari can do in terms of their race pace. If they've got good race pace, then they should be able to take the fight to the Red Bulls. But if they're struggling in their race pace and have more degradation as per usual, then they're going to have the fight with the McLarens today.
So Sergio Perez starts down in sixth, though we have seen the Red Bull be exceptionally dominant, as we saw last season in the first two races so far. Do you think Perez is going to make some early ground there on Piastri and Leclerc and above? And I mean, how long is it going to take for him to get past those? Or is he going to find it a little bit more difficult today? I think those are the sort of questions we want to ask for today's Grand Prix. Hopefully, it's going to be much more difficult for the Red Bulls, and we're going to see the likes of Ferrari, McLaren, and even Mercedes as Russell down in seventh make a bit more of a challenge, I think. Also, looking at the Aston Martins 9th and 10th, a little bit of a disappointing qualifying for both of them yesterday.
Yes, well, Fernando Alonso didn't get a clean run at the end of his qualifying, so I think he actually ended up going off into the gravel and damaging his floor a little bit, and that is why he didn't get a final representative time on the board for himself. But I'm sure that they should be quite fast in their race pace. They did look quite fast in their race runs over the weekend, so I think they should have at least a little bit more pace during the race rather than qualifying.
Yeah, indeed. So we're just about 11 minutes or just under 11 minutes away from the start of the Grand Prix here in Melbourne. And lots of you, I'm sure, will be joining us very shortly on the stream. If you have not already done so, I see Cora in the comments there saying, good morning, everyone. Well, good morning to you and good morning to wherever you are in the world. Of course, be sure to let us know where you're watching from and whom you are supporting today. I mean, what are you really hoping happens today, essentially?
Well, I don't hope for anything, unfortunately, anymore in Formula One. It's just become an absolute Max Verstappen show. He is really just dominating it. But I think from P2 downwards should be quite interesting. There may be a couple of red flags around the circuit. We normally get that around the circuit. It is very tight. It's a street circuit. There's a lot of crashes, really close walls. So I'm expecting to get a couple of yellow flags, maybe a safety car or two, and possibly even a red flag. Last year, we got a restart, a complete restart of the race and under red flag conditions. And we had a terrible restart where they had a huge crash afterwards with the two Alpines taking themselves out. So it's a really tricky race start here, a tricky restart if they do decide to restart it again. But we'll have to wait and see what happens here. Oscar Piastri looking quite confident in his car. Big smiles to Zach Brown as he's getting ready to get in his challenger for today.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of crashes, I think that's what I was going to go back to when you're alluding to it. Of course, a very tight circuit, as you say. So we saw that from Alex Albon, of course, pinning it in very, very early in this weekend. And then, of course, they could not get the car fixed. They don't have a replacement chassis for him. So he's had to take the place of Logan Sargent today. So how important is it for Alex Albon, who starts in 12th, to perform today in terms of making sure that he does take advantage of having been given the second chance and taken away the seat of Logan Sargent? Of course, not very many people complaining about that, but he does need to perform as a result.
Well, of course. I mean, the only reason that they've taken that car away from Logan Sargent is because they believe that Alex Albon can get points today. He's down in P12. He needs to get up into those point-scoring positions. He has got Hamilton, though, and Alonso ahead of him to get into those points positions, so they're not going to make it easy. But I'm expecting a couple of DNFs or incidents in the first corner, so he could make up an opportunity and make up a couple of places.
Well, that's of course assuming that anybody above him will DNF, and I think that is possible. That is definitely a possibility. Although we have seen in recent Formula One history that a lot more people seem to be finishing the races than we always seem to think they will. I do know last year, of course, was a bit of a disaster. So if it's anything like last year, then we are going to see a very interesting grid in terms of who will finish and who will not finish. Now, Lewis Hamilton in that Mercedes, all the way down in 11th, said he was having, said his practice session 2 was his worst practice of all time in a Formula One car. Then he went to qualifying. He couldn't make it into Q3, of course. So, I mean, what are we expecting from him today?
From Lewis Hamilton?
Yes.
Nothing.
That was very, very, very straight, blunt, and to the point. We just No, don't care about Lewis Hamilton. Just down there 11th.
He's been struggling all race weekend with his pace, struggling with rear snapping, rear stability in his car. He is really not happy with that Mercedes. And I'm pretty sure he's looking forward to getting out of this car and getting straight into a Ferrari at the end of the season.
Well, he's still got another 21 races to go. So, I mean, that's even
I think he's pretty much already written the season off.
I mean,
it's pretty much a copy and paste of last year already.
Well, if that's the case, do you not think that maybe Mercedes would have to look at their driver and say, well, he's not going to put the proper effort in and
well, the team's not giving him the proper effort, unfortunately. The team hasn't been able to provide him with a race-winning car. That is the entire point of Lewis Hamilton being at that team.
No, I fully understand that. However, Russell has out-qualified him every single race so far. Now, would you not be backing a 7-time world champion to have done so at least once by now?
Well, of course, but they're also not building the car the way that he would like. So, of course, it's going to play to Russell's strengths rather than Hamilton's. But just watching now as we have 6 minutes and 40 seconds now left on the clock till the start of this race. The Red Bull lined up on the front row with the Ferrari alongside him of Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz has been doing really well. He had a bit of a comeback weekend now this weekend after he was taken out of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix last time because of appendicitis. So disappointing that he missed out on last weekend's race, but he has had a brilliant comeback to bounce back very, very well in Australia.
Indeed, some people saying that apparently he needed to get rid of his appendix because that's what's resulted in so much speed. And yeah, we wish him all the best for his return to Formula One after, as you say, last time out not being able to participate. Appendix now removed. Let's see what he could do in the front grid. Now, also interestingly for Carlos Sainz, he's on the inside line. Now, it's going to be a bit of a difficult one because you tend to take that corner from the outside, of course. So you don't really want to be taking the apex too much from there. But will he try to force Max Verstappen out, or will Max Verstappen get a better start? We have seen the Red Bulls so far this season. They start very, very well.
Verstappen should get a better start. He's on the rubbered up side of the track, so you would expect him to get an awful lot better off the line. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. Just looking at the past winners around the circuit, some brilliant races we've had here in the past. Lots of mistakes, though, from the likes of Charles Leclerc, Alex Albon. Albon crashed out of the race last year, the same place that he crashed in FP1 and ruined his Williams, unfortunately. But I'm expecting to see a couple of crashes there in turn 6 and 7. Really, really tricky part of the track in between a bunch of curbs, gravel, walls. It is just treacherous.
Yeah, it's a very difficult track. It's a very famous track. It's been on the grid for quite a while as the titles are now running. So we are very, very close to the start of this Grand Prix here in Australia, the third one for the season. Let us know your predictions in the comment section. Of course, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And also be sure to go check out our channel partner, BITDEFENDER, there in the comment description rather of the video. BITDEFENDER for all your cybersecurity needs. They are the world leader in cybersecurity. So go click on that link in the description and get a special discount. And yeah, go and check them out. Of course, a sponsor of Ferrari. So we'll see how Ferrari do today. And yeah, I'm keen to get this Grand Prix underway. And I'm sure that we're all keen to get some conversation going as well. And go and participate in the poll. Who's going to win the Australian Grand Prix in 2024?
Just looking at these stats now about the Albert Park circuit, where we are this race weekend, round 3 of 24 for the Formula One season in 2024. The furthest flyaway race of the season, we are, of course, in Australia. So looking at this brilliant Albert Park circuit that we are racing around this weekend, the track distance is 5.2 kilometers with 58 laps making up this race. The race lap record is a 1 minute 20 set by Max Verstappen. The top speed is 339.9 kilometers an hour with 14 turns and an elevation of 2.45 meters. The tyre compounds for this race weekend are the C5, C4, and C3 compounds, so the softest of the Pirelli range. Of course, the soft being the C5, the C4 being the medium, and the C3 being the hard.
Now, what do you think is the favourable tyre for
medium?
This weekend? Medium, yes. So
100%.
the medium tyre will be used predominantly by most of the drivers.
Medium and hard.
And the bigger question will be as to what everyone's going to start on. But we're going to go through our starting grid for today. So Joe Gagnon will be starting in 19th position, of course, because there will be a 20th position car as a result of the missing Williams. Ricciardo in 18th, the homeboy there. Next to Pierre Gasly at 17th. Alpine, of course, struggling so far this season. Hulkenberg at 16th for Haas. And Esteban Ocon, the other Alpine, in 15th position. Ahead of them, Kevin Magnussen in 14th and Valtteri Bottas and his Kicksauber in 13th, doing a lot better than his teammate Zhou Guanyu. Alexander Albon, of course, the last remaining Williams, he will be there in 12th. Lewis Hamilton in 11th.
Fernando Alonso then alongside his teammate in 10th and 9th, Lance Stroll in 9th. And then we have Yuki Tsunoda having a brilliant qualifying session yesterday, really outperforming his teammate Daniel Ricciardo. He's up in 8th with George Russell alongside him in 7th. Sergio Perez then with that grid penalty for impeding Nico Hülkenberg in qualifying. He's in 6th with Piastri in 5th. Charles Leclerc then 4th place with Lando Norris in 3rd, getting promoted by that penalty. Carlos Sainz then 2nd, and Max Verstappen, of course, once again, starting in 1st for this race. We have just a few minutes now left till we get going, as we have a bunch more people jumping in the comment section now. Thank you very much for joining in on the stream. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date with all of the latest Formula One and motorsport news. We do have the Moto GP as well, showing a little bit later this afternoon. If you do enjoy Moto GP, be sure to join our stream for that as well. Cora says that
I must admit that if someone told me last August that I'd wake up on my 18th birthday to watch cars go around in circles, I would have laughed at their faces. Well, I assume that means it's your birthday, so happy birthday, Cora. And a few other people joining us. Lindiwe there, Naval Porquita, and Kane's there asking a question, which you can go and check the description for how you can go and watch the Grand Prix live, and I believe pretty much for free as well. So be sure to go check out the description there to see how you can do that.
So just watching now with Oscar Piastri, he's all bolted into his car. I think he could do quite well around the circuit here today. He's done well in practice. He just needs to keep his head level and stay calm throughout the race. It is a long race around the circuit. It does get very hot as well, as we're watching Carlos Sainz looking ready to get going. Max Verstappen looking calm and collected as per usual. He'll be starting on a set of mediums as Lindiwe gives her happy birthday to Cora. Just now waiting for all of the tire blankets to get removed from the cars as the mechanics start making their way off the grid for the formation lap.
Yeah, indeed. So looking at the starting tires as a result of all those engineers making their way off of the track, we've got mediums all the way down to 9th. Alonso will be starting on the hards, though. Hamilton on the softs. Hülkenberg will also be on the hards, and Ricciardo and Zhou on softs. Everybody else rocking the medium tire.
Local time now approaches 3 o'clock, which means that the Formula One is about to get underway. We're starting the formation lap for this Australian Grand Prix. Max Verstappen, Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, and Charles Leclerc are all off the line now, as are the rest of the grid, slowly following behind. What can Lewis Hamilton do today? He's starting so far back, P11. He could hopefully get himself into the points, but it may be a bit of a tall order today for himself, as that top 10 is just so competitive. Looking at possible race strategies though today, it looks like it should be a two-stopper, going from mediums to hard and then back to mediums, or doing medium, hard, depending on what you want to do. And depending on what the safety cars are going to be like as well. I think some people could go straight to a set of hards as soon as they see a safety car and try and stay on those tires for as long as possible.
I think we'll probably see the latter strategy that you did mention in regards to medium, then hard and hard from pretty much all the teams. And I reckon that you'll probably see Red Bull being the only one that won't do that. With Red Bull's lack of tire degradation and managing their tires so well, one imagines maybe they'll go medium, hard, medium, or something along those lines. They do tend to be able to last a lot longer on the medium tire, especially when you're at the front. So I think that might be a thing for Red Bull today. It's an interesting strategy, though, for Lewis Hamilton starting on the softs. Do you think it'll work?
Well, he's got to make up positions quite quickly on the opening lap. So that is how to do it with a set of soft tires. But they will not last very long. He'll have to be one of the first people to come in and make a pit stop. So we'll have to see how long they last. I'm sure the other teams will also be taking note of how those soft tires do last. Daniel Ricciardo, this is his 10th Australian Grand Prix. His first one was in 2012 and his latest one now in 2024. Great to have Daniel Ricciardo back in the sport, but unfortunately, as I said, just not having any show of form really at the moment. Previous wins in Australia last year, Max Verstappen, 22, Charles Leclerc, 19, Valtteri Bottas, 2018, Vettel, and 2017 was Vettel as well, as Max Verstappen is now starting to approach that start-finish line to line himself up on the grid.
Indeed, Zach Brown, of course, has now signed an extension for McLaren until 2030. We'll be watching on as Lando Norris and Piastri start in 3rd and 5th for this Grand Prix weekend. Max Verstappen right at the front of the row. He's there waiting. Sergio Perez's teammate now lines himself up. Reese is going to take you through this opening lap. It's going to be certainly an exciting one. Everyone around the world has pretty much got up very, very early, or otherwise some of you might have some decent times for you to watch this Grand Prix. But for most of us, it's very early here, and I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic start and a good reason for us to have all got up to watch this Grand Prix here in Australia.
Well, we're certainly hoping so. If it's not, I'm going to be quite grumpy because it is 6 a.m. here in South Africa. So we've got the final cars now lining up on the grid. We have, I think that is Daniel Ricciardo now finally in that final position, and Zhou Guanyu lining up in the pit lane, of course, because he, I think he took some new parts. Here come the lights now. All 5 showing lights out, and away we go. Max Verstappen with a good start. Lando Norris as well with a brilliant start, catching up to Carlos Sainz, trying to make a move around the outside. Sainz defends quite well through the first corner. Oscar Piastri all over the back of Charles Leclerc, not able to make up any positions there. Neat and tidy first corner for the entire grid. Not what I thought I'd be saying through there. Carlos Sainz looking to try and make a move on Max Verstappen through turn 3, but still too far back. We see Bottas making a move now on, I think that is Lewis Hamilton, as he's trying to get past him, but Hamilton defends off quite well.
George Russell, meanwhile, has managed to take Sergio Perez up there into 5th position, so 6th position rather. So great start for the Mercedes driver there. So let's see what he can do now.
Lewis Hamilton is into the points. Alex Albon has dropped a place down into P13. Alonso has also dropped now down to P12. So Alonso has fallen out of the points. Alex Albon is even further away from the points now, as that looks like George Russell is still trying to defend off from Sergio Perez. Perez trying to make up positions back. Perez needs to get past him as soon as possible. This is race critical for Sergio Perez, but George Russell really defending hard to the inside of turn 12.
Indeed, so the Mercedes already defending from the Red Bull behind him. I think he's going to have a torrid time trying to do so. The Aston Martin of Lance Stroll has had a decent start there, up into 8th, got past Yuki Tsunoda, is now chasing down any mistake from the people above him there, being Sergio Perez and George Russell having it out with each other.
Max Verstappen already almost a second ahead of Carlos Sainz, as Sainz is already putting out a gap to Lando Norris. Looking like a big DRS train already. Not much action throughout the entire grid, but we'll have to wait and see what can develop over the next coming laps.
Indeed, it was a bit of a boring opening lap. I didn't see any crashes, not too many overtakes, only one overtake for the majority of the grid. So it is a very, very timid start, I think, for most people. Not too aggressive, except for maybe George Russell, who made an immediate move there on Sergio Perez. But otherwise, let's see what the rest of the grid can do here. Sainz only 0.4 seconds to Verstappen. Of course, DRS opening in the second lap this season means that he can stick with him for a little bit longer.
When did they make that change? I always thought it was still lap 3.
And here he goes. Sainz is making an overtake on Verstappen, and he's taken him into 1st position, lap 2. Of course, as a result of that DRS, yes, they did make the change this season. So he's now managed to get ahead of Max Verstappen. How much longer, I don't know.
Verstappen just seems to let him go, though. Possibly he's just got the confidence that his tire degradation is going to be able to last. But Sainz is already pulling away from Verstappen. 0.6 seconds is already that gap. Verstappen will get the DRS, though, now down the main straight. But will that be enough? The crowd is absolutely roaring with excitement to see someone other than Max Verstappen leading the race right now.
Yes, indeed. So Max Verstappen now with that DRS is going into turn 1. He can't quite catch up to Carlos Sainz, but of course it's the following DRS. So Max Verstappen on the radio, Reese.
Max just saying, I lost the car, really weird. So he's having some setup issues maybe in that cockpit as he's slowly starting to reel back in Carlos Sainz. But he needs to be able to hold on to him now through this tricky high-speed sector that is coming up.
Indeed, and the crowd are very much appreciative of Carlos Sainz. Watching a replay of that overtake in that DRS zone, just goes around the outside, has more pace than the Red Bull, and cuts on his inside. A really, really easy overtake for him.
Yes, I think Max just had a little bit of a moment coming into that sector, which meant he didn't have the momentum to carry him all the way through to that high-speed left-hander, as he is now starting to really reel down Carlos Sainz as they approach the next DRS sector, but I think he's still too far back.
Funny enough, I was going to say, it's Carlos Sainz managed to build a decent enough gap to Max Verstappen to avoid any issues with that DRS. So Yeah, Max Verstappen maybe struggling ever so slightly beginning of this lap here. Looking at how much time Carlos Sainz made up on him in that previous lap to overtake, it was like it was 1.4. Max Verstappen not happy with the car.
No, he's complaining that the car is apparently now loose. So either just the phase of the tire warm up that they're in, or something has changed overnight from his qualifying setup. As I see quite a lot of smoke coming off the back of Max's car.
Indeed, there's smoke coming off the back of Max Verstappen's car. It's a very good point. So suddenly something's not happy for Max Verstappen here. This could spell trouble for Red Bull. He's dropping off of Carlos Sainz. He's really not keeping up with Carlos Sainz very, very well. I mean, only DRS is keeping him in it. If DRS was not a thing, Carlos Sainz would be leaving him in the dust. So there's still
a lot of smoke.
Oh my word!
That's coming from that's the brake ducts by the looks of things.
There's a lot more smoke now.
This is a massive reliability issue. This is a brake fight. He's going to get a black and white flag.
Oh my word! What a start for the Australian race. It's just got very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Max Verstappen's got car issues. I'm sure he's going to be shown a black and white flag.
This could take out his rear suspension if he's not careful.
Oh my word! Here we go. Lando Norris is now catching up to Max Verstappen. As a result, Carlos Sainz is just trying to take advantage of this. He's pulled away, and there you go. Max
Verstappen's race is done.
He's done. He's out. Max Verstappen is slowing down. He can't continue. He's going to have to try and make his way back.
Might be able to replace the tire, and that could fix the issue. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. So yeah, I think he's struggling with his brakes. He's saying my brakes. So I think he's got a long brake pedal. So that breaks Max Verstappen's second run of 10 race wins in a row. Unfortunately for himself, he is going to have to retire from this race if the Red Bull team are unable to fix that issue in the pits.
Well, he has now dropped all the way down to 19th. Max Verstappen with a huge issue there, possibly with his brakes, especially on his rear right brake. So disappointing for Max Verstappen and Red Bull, but I'm sure most of the fans around the world are looking at this going, my word, we're going to have a very different race today. He's now in the pits. Let's see if they can fix it, or they're just going to immediately retire it. They're going to get straight back there.
I don't think he's got any brakes, so they're going to have to retire this car by the looks of things. Fire extinguishers going over the tire there. They're trying to get that tire off. Will they be able to fix this issue? Because, of course, if they are able to fix it, they can continue him running way too much. I think those tires are completely shot. Verstappen's out of the car. That's his race over.
Oh, my word. What a start here in Australia. It's the first race that Max Verstappen has not finished in a long, long time. My word. I mean, I didn't expect that today of all the things to happen. So the Ferraris now looking to try and make as many points, get as many points as possible today now. As a result of that, Carlos Sainz is 1.6 seconds ahead of now second, Lando Norris. Leclerc now up in third, Piastri in fourth. Sergio Perez, the last remaining Red Bull, down there in sixth. And he's not making any gains really on George Russell ahead of him. So a difficult day already for Red Bull.
Yes, as you say, a difficult day. Sergio Perez struggling down in P6, not able to make any inroads on George Russell. I said that, but he has now set the fastest sector 2. The Red Bulls, oh my word, those brakes are just completely melted on Verstappen's car. Who knows what happened there, but a mechanic is going to get into a lot of trouble over that issue.
Max Verstappen clearly not happy in the pits there as to what happened to his car. He's losing his mind with his engineers going, what on earth's happened? Just saying absolutely stupid, I think is what he just said to his engineer there. Ricardo also has made his way into the pits there. 2.8 second stop for him. He's going straight onto the hard tyre now after having started on the softs. And let's see what he can do. Lewis Hamilton now up into 9th, ahead of Fernando Alonso on that hard tyre there. So Fernando Alonso not having the best start to this race either, only still down in 10th after he started this. He's actually technically lost a position twice because Max Verstappen is out of this race and Lewis Hamilton has got past him. So Fernando Alonso, a lot of work for him to do. Leclerc is meanwhile chasing down the McLaren of Lando Norris ahead of him, but Piastri is also chasing Leclerc.
Yes, there looks like there's a bit of a fight going on now for P3 as Leclerc is chasing down Lando Norris for P2, but Piastri is holding on to the back of Charles Leclerc for that third position. Now, Raul Porchita asking for a title fight. I still don't think that's possible. Max Verstappen will bounce back into the next race in Japan, and he loves Japan.
Yeah, it is a good point. We've got Japan in the next race, but that's the first sign of reliability issues for Red Bull. We've never
It wasn't reliability. That was probably a plastic bag in the brake ducts.
Yeah, but all we know is that Max Verstappen is not in this race anymore, so that's going to certainly prove a problem for him for at least points for this weekend. But I'm sure he'll get as many points as possible in the next coming ones. As you said, Japan coming up next. Just looking at a replay of that race start there, I mean, there weren't any real big surprises really, except for George Russell getting past Sergio Perez. And right now, he's still holding a decent gap to Sergio Perez behind him. So he's managing that quite well, though the gap from him to the McLaren of Piastri ahead of him is quite large already as well. So as 3.3 seconds, I think it is. So, I mean, do we think that the Mercedes and the Red Bull, I mean, are they even going to challenge for the top three already?
Piastri is all over the back of Charles Leclerc now. Ooh, we just saw a replay of Max Verstappen's brakes letting go properly. It did not go well for Verstappen. But continuing live with Oscar Piastri, he's all over the back of Charles Leclerc now. Will Charles Leclerc come under pressure now from Piastri? He's also got the DRS, luckily though, down on Lando Norris behind him. Or in front of him, rather, sorry.
Indeed. So, just watching a replay there of Max Verstappen coming into the pits. As he comes into the pits, you see a big, not really explosion, I would say, but certainly something happens to his brake there, which obviously I think was where it just gave up. There was a big puff of black smoke, and something flew out the car there. A little bit debris really on the pit entrances. Lewis Hamilton, after starting on the softs, come into the pits. 2.4 second stop for him. He's going to come out in 14th, 15th place, as Magnussen also came into the pits there. So after starting on the soft tire, he managed to make up one place and is now coming to the pits.
Lap 8 of 58 right now. As we have just said, Lewis Hamilton did come in and make a pit stop. We expected him to make a pit stop relatively early because of the fact that he started on those soft tires. As Charles Leclerc looks at an opportunity on Lando Norris and loses quite a lot of pace, this is going to put him into the hands of Piastri now.
Well, Leclerc was doing really, really well to get so close to him, but then Norris managed to just shut the door on him. And as you said, now Piastri can try and take advantage of this. Piastri going around the back of Leclerc now up in third. And I think the McLarens are looking to try and get ahead of Leclerc because Sainz is making big grounds there. There's a little bit of debris on the track still from Max Verstappen's car there. They need to probably try and see if they can get that out of the way. But luckily, I don't think it'll cause any safety cars.
George Russell being told box. So clearly, they're seeing an advantage of going on to brand new tyres already as George Russell now comes into the pits from 5th place.
Well, obviously, I think they might see that the hard tyre is actually doing a lot better than they thought it would do. So trying to get them onto that hard tyre as early as possible to overtake the likes ahead of them, or maybe even try and make sure they defend from Perez as well. Because
they're trying to do the undercut, which is obviously pit early, have good pace for a long time, and then pit when everyone else pits again for the next round of pit stops. But George Russell comes out again in P11, so it doesn't lose too many positions. Oh no, as Valtteri Bottas has a bad pit stop. They can't put on the wheel nuts on his front left tyre. They're struggling to put it on. Have they got it on now? Finally, after probably about a 30-second pit stop for Valtteri Bottas.
So another terrible pit stop there for Kickstarter. We've seen that in the past already this season. Now, looking back at that fight for technically second between Norris, Leclerc and Piastri, all getting very close to each other. Sainz in the radio. What's happening there, Reese?
So Carlos Sainz getting told, let's open the gap now, then to go long. The car feels very good to me, is what Sainz is saying on the radio. So he's just saying, let's push for a little bit, and then we'll manage our pace for a little while and hold that gap. Because now Charles Leclerc and Piastri dive into the pits.
Yeah, indeed. So they're trying to see if they'll try and tempt each one into going into the pits, both of them obviously going into the pits now. So they'll move on to the hard tyres early here. Leclerc and Piastri, all about the pit stops here. Let's see what happens.
Or win this position in the pits. Very good, very evenly matched from both of them. Piastri ever so slightly slower by 0.2 seconds than Leclerc's pit stop time.
But it does mean Leclerc's going to come out fighting with Piastri right behind him. So he's going to really need to move here, Leclerc. Now he comes out in 7th position, Piastri down in 8th. George Russell now in 9th, obviously, as a result of that. A few more people going into the pits. Lots of relatively early pit stops here. A lot of medium tyres moving to the hards early. So I think it'll be a double hard pit stop for most of this Grand Prix looking through the grid. So yeah, very early decision there to get onto the hard tyres for a lot of teams. It might suit George Russell. As we now look at Max Verstappen, who's retired on lap 3, looks very disappointed.
Yes, very upset. Clearly, he is a racer through and through. He does not like to retire from a race. As Josh asks, is there any chance of Verstappen coming back? No, unfortunately not. He is completely out of this race. Watching a replay of Lewis Hamilton coming into turn 1, still suffering with his balance issues, really struggling through that first corner.
And he's going off into the grass there a little bit, so that's really not going to do his tyres any good. So he's came onto the hard tyres very early after starting on the softs. and that's not going to help too much. As we're lap 11 of 58, Max Verstappen having a chat with his race engineer, just finding out exactly what happened or getting the opinions there. So I'm sure there'll be a big debrief as to what on earth happened there, as we still see a little piece of debris from his car at the final corner there, as everyone starts another lap here. Sainz on the radio again.
Sainz being told you're doing a mega job out there, so just being told his pace is good. He's now 4.5 seconds ahead of Lando Norris in second place. Sergio Perez is now up into third because of those pit stops from the likes of Leclerc and Piastri. They're down in 7th and 8th, half a second off of Gasly ahead of them in 6th. It's going to be an interesting race here. Differing strategies already. A lot of people coming into the pits early to put on a set of hard tyres, as they've seen. Those are the preferential tyres with good pace out there on circuit. Gasly's trying to chase down Hülkenberg for 5th place, but really not reeling him in all that quickly.
There's an interesting strategy being deployed here by Red Bull, and the fact that Sergio Perez is staying on those medium tyres for quite a while compared to the 2 cars ahead of him, being George Russell and Charles
Cars ahead of him on Norris and Sainz.
Yes, but I'm saying now, saying previously, obviously, in terms of who we're looking at for the grid, the realistic positions. Of course, Sergio Perez was chasing down George Russell. George Russell came in early for the hard tyres. Sergio Perez staying out on the medium tyres for a while. So it means he needs to put a lot of pace up there in terms of the grid. So he really needs to try and take advantage of these medium tyres and make them last without losing too much pace, so that he can take that position back from George Russell.
Just looking at the undercut right now, it seems to have worked quite well for the likes of Leclerc and Piastri, as Piastri is predicted to still be 2.2 seconds ahead of Norris if he has to come into the pits right now. Piastri getting past the likes of Hülkenberg to get a little bit closer now to Charles Leclerc. That move looked quite easy, as Lyndon asks, is the interval the time to the driver in front? The interval is between each driver.
Yeah, indeed, it is exactly that. And they've lost so much time already looking at the time in terms of Lando Norris. Lando Norris will be coming out behind Oscar Piastri by 2.2 seconds. You've got to be surprised to why they don't pit as soon as they can right now, which clearly shows the hard tyres a lot quicker.
Well, they're not pitting because that advantage is so huge. So they're waiting for it to get a little bit smaller, and then they will bring their drivers at the front into the pits. Just watching, where is Lewis Hamilton? Still out of the points, down in P11. I did say it was going to be a difficult day for him here today. Alex Albon, in that Williams of his teammate Logan Sargent, not doing too well, still down in 13th place right now.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, a few people need to come into the pits, and then we'll see some more realistic positions. The like of Gasly, Hülkenberg obviously need to come into the pits, and Alonso will be fighting it out with Lewis Hamilton as it comes out. So Lewis Hamilton might actually come into the points after those pit stops later on, but of course, different tyre strategies now being employed from several teams in lap 13 or 58 here. Perez on the radio here,
saying, I think we overdid it on this tyre. The grip is quite low from the rear, so already saying that he may have cooked his tyre at this point in the race.
Well, I did say that was an interesting strategy from Red Bull that's being employed when Russell came in. And I don't think Perez quite agrees with having stayed out for a while. So maybe they should have come in for that hard tyre a little bit earlier, and they could have been fighting it out a bit more. So we'll see what happens and develops there in that battle between Sergio Perez and what was George Russell.
Just watching those drivers that are out of sync with the rest of the grid right now, that is the likes of Bottas, Zhou still running off the back of the grid. Ricciardo still not finding any pace, still sitting out of sync with Zhou Guanyu. I'm really disappointed in Daniel Ricciardo this season. I didn't think he's going to last an entire season.
You do have to wonder what's happened, because Yuki Tsunoda's up there in 12th right now. He's fighting out with a Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton. He's 2 seconds behind him, and he started right at the front of the grid. You know, in Q3. I mean, fantastic start for Tsunoda after qualifying yesterday.
And Daniel Ricciardo's 3.9 seconds off Magnussen.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
So,
was a massive Daniel Ricciardo fan. Am a massive Daniel Ricciardo fan, but his racecraft has gone out the window by the looks of things.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he needs to find himself again, because clearly it's not started the season well, as you say. And looking at a fight chat that's brewing, it's Gasly and Hülkenberg. Gasly's on the medium tyre, chasing down Nico Hülkenberg in 7th. Gasly having a good start here. He's actually having a decent race up into the points now on the medium tyre. But of course, he still needs to come to the pits, so he really needs to take advantage of this DRS now that he gets from Hülkenberg ahead of him to try and make up some time that he's going to lose as a result of being in the medium tyre with those on hards around him. Still, the front three are on the medium tyre. Sainz's interval now is 7.2 seconds. That's huge.
Yes, that Ferrari just has so much more pace over the rest of the field, and we did hear he is pushing so that he can open that gap up to have a more safe pit stop over the rest of the field.
I think we're going to see a Ferrari 1-2 here, by the way, because I'm looking at Leclerc's time as well to Piastri ahead of behind him rather. Piastri was in DRS range before they went into the pits. It was very close there. Now the gap is about 2.4 seconds. So the Ferrari looking quite a bit quicker than the McLaren, in which case I believe we should see a Ferrari 1-2.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens as Lando Norris now gets told box. So we'll have to wait and see where he can come out after his pit stop. But I do think that the McLarens do have some pace here today. I said it in the practice sessions that they were looking quite comfortable and quite stable out on circuit, as Perez is also told now box.
Indeed. So Perez now being told to box with Lando Norris. Both of them going to come in. So I'm going to be interested to see how long it takes Carlos Sainz to come into the pits as well. He's built up quite a big gap, so he should be safe to pit this lap. I imagine he probably will, just to defend away from anything to lose any time. Now that everybody's onto the hard tires, so he won't lose too much time. As managed to
slow pit stop for Sergio Perez, a little bit slow on the front right, 2.8 seconds. As Chennai asks, what happened with Verstappen? Verstappen, unfortunately, has had a brake failure and had to retire from the race.
Yeah, in lap 3 even. So really disappointing for him as Sergio Perez comes out right there with George Russell and also Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton now is going to try to overtake him. He's going around the outside, just sniffing the air there. And will he try and cut back in on Sergio Perez? It seems like he's lost that position. Sergio Perez managing to get out just ahead of that Mercedes in 10th position.
Lewis Hamilton falling quite quickly off the back of that Red Bull already. You can just see he's really struggling with his pace out here.
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton really not enjoying the season, and he's still got another 21 races after this to still put up with. So needs to try and find something to work for him, because right now it must not be fun in that car at all. Lance Stroll up there in 9th. Of course, Sergio Perez will be chasing him down very shortly. And looking at the rest of the grid, Alonso now currently sits in 2nd. Of course, he did come in for a very early pit stop before everybody else. Actually, rather, he hasn't come in for his pit stop. So he's up there in 2nd. But I imagine we'll see him drop quite far down once he does come in for his pit stop. Sainz, as I say, when does he come in for his pit stop? He's still going through. He's not come in yet. One imagines he will do very, very soon, though.
The McLarens have lost a good opportunity here, though, today. They've given up track position for Lando Norris. As Hamilton says, geez, that car is fast, speaking about Sergio Perez, just pulling away ahead of him. I think the McLarens have lost out on an opportunity here, as they've pretty much lost 2nd place from the race right now with Norris's stop. Luckily, he hasn't fallen too far back, so hopefully he should be able to make it back. But it's not going to be easy. There's still a long race ahead of us, and he's 2.4 seconds off the back of his teammate, Oscar Piastri, as was predicted by those pit strategies.
Indeed. Now we're looking at a little DRS chain that's formed in the middle of the field there, with some who've pitted and some who've not. So we've got some very powerful cars and some not so powerful cars all mixed in and amongst each other, which is proving a problem for Sergio Perez. He needs to try and get past Lance Stroll and Pierre Gasly right now. And Lance Stroll's making a move on Gasly, as we say. So Perez cannot make a move past any of them. Has to just go into the race a little bit early to try and see if he can overtake it.
So close to each other.
Yeah, so it's proving a problem for Sergio Perez here. It's a big advantage to George Russell. We now do see Sainz.
Slower stop for Sainz, slow on the front left.
At 2.6.
Hamilton's retiring. Hamilton's on the side of the road.
Yes, Hamilton's going slow. There you go. Hamilton's not going quickly here. Engine failure for Lewis Hamilton. He's going to have to pull off here. Will he be able to get into a decent position? I don't think he's going to be able to, by the way. So this might prove to be a safety car or something, although the car's still going. Where is it going to stop? He's desperately trying to get it somewhere. But indeed, so we've got an engine failure here from the Mercedes. Toto Wolff looks on, also very disappointed. So where's he going to? I think it's going to be a safety car.
He's going to stop in the middle of the road. He's trying to get to an access point. Luckily, he has gotten quite close to one, but they may have to pull out a safety car through, get rid of that car. Yellow flag now on sector 3 for Lewis Hamilton. That took a very long time for a yellow flag.
Well, apparently will champions be afraid, because those are the ones who are retiring right now. Max Verstappen the first, Lewis Hamilton the next. Will Fernando Alonso be scared a little bit in terms of his car?
I don't think he's scared of omens at all. As Fernando Alonso is currently leading the race, but they have to slow down for that 3rd sector where the safety car is now, the virtual safety car is now being put out.
Indeed. So Fernando Alonso, technically our race leader right now, as we look at Lewis Hamilton get out of the car in sector 3 there after that engine failure. Watch a replay of this race. Just talk us through it.
Just listening on board, or just you can see a bit of a jolt as he comes down the long back straight, and you can see his kind of hands react to that engine failure. And now Alonso gets given first place essentially with that pit stop from Carlos Sainz.
Indeed, unfortunately for Fernando Alonso, as a result of the virtual safety car
He's in the pits.
Yeah, he's going to come into the pits now.
But this works out beautifully for himself.
Yeah, so he's going to drop a little bit, of course,
but you lose a lot less time in the pits under a virtual safety car.
Exactly. So he's going to come out around about 5th place, I think he should. So brilliant little piece of luck there for Fernando Alonso. He's going to come out in a fighting position there ahead of George Russell. So very interesting for Fernando Alonso, as the virtual safety car is now already ending because Lewis Hamilton managed to get to that recovery zone very quickly there. So brilliant piece of luck there for Fernando Alonso. He's going to come out in 5th position ahead of George Russell.
Lock up for Fernando Alonso now, trying to get those tyres back up to temperature. Has a bit of a lock up into turn 3, as Leonardo says Fernando must have missed the P1 spot. Well, he didn't stand there for very long, maybe about a lap.
I enjoy Old Man Boo's comments there saying Danny Rick will beat Verstappen and Hamilton today. Who says he's lost it?
It's a bit of a shadow victory beating DNF drivers, but yes. Indeed. Sergio Perez now with a bit of a difficult comeback to make. He's all the way down in P8 and has lost a couple positions because of this virtual safety car, allowing the likes of those like Alonso and I think Stroll to make those pit stops.
It's an interesting point someone's pointed out in the comment section. As a result of that virtual safety car, perhaps we've seen the front of the grid get a lot more boxed up than they were before. Sainz and Leclerc, only a 1 second gap between them, as we now see Sergio Perez taking Lance Stroll with DRS very, very easily there, and he moves up into 7th position. But look at the top of the grid there, 1, 2, 3, and 4, much closer together than they were before.
Yes, they certainly are. The virtual safety car does condense the pack a little bit more. As we're watching a replay, I think this is Lando Norris coming out of the pits. What happens here? McLaren versus McLaren gets quite close, but it is neat and tidy between those two.
Yeah, not really anything to talk about, except for the fact that Oscar Piastri has now moved ahead of Lando Norris. So Lando Norris now sits in 4th. Instead, his teammate now taking him. Watching a replay of Esteban Ocon's pit stop here. I think a little bit slow. It's on the back right tyre that just cannot seem to get it on. Also, a lot of smoking up from the car there. So just trying to put it on, see if they can get on. But that looks terrible. Should they be releasing the car with that amount of smoke?
Yes.
Yeah.
You often see a lot of smoke on the rear brake ducts, especially in a pit stop, but that was quite a lot. It normally gets cleared out once he gets back out on circuit.
Indeed. So fastest sector has just been set by Leclerc, who's chasing his teammates Carlos Sainz there for first position. So Carlos Sainz, of course, is on a fresher set of hard tyres. He can go a little bit longer than Leclerc's, but right now he's actually going to be seeing if they can fight it out for the race win. Yeah, 2 Ferraris fighting it out for the race win. We haven't seen that in many years.
Yes, we certainly haven't. It takes me back to the days of Vettel and Leclerc. As Ocon says, did you find anything or not? I think they're looking for an issue on his car right now.
I think that's as a result of the pit stop there with the amount of smoke in his rear right tyre. So, lap 20 of 58. A very, very different grid to what we were expecting to see. Carlos Sainz up there in 1st, Leclerc in 2nd, Piastri and Norris in 3rd and 4th. Alonso, now as a result of that virtual safety car, up in 5th. George Russell in 6th, Perez in 7th, Lance Stroll 8th, Tsunoda in 9th, and Alex Albon into the points now in 10th. Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, both out of this race.
Max Verstappen out of the grid now. He's making his way back towards his hospitality box. I'm sure he is quite frustrated to be out of this race. It was looking very promising for him today. I thought he was going to show us another dominance out here in Albert Park, but unfortunately, his race win streak has been marred by a DNF, unfortunately, out here in Australia. Yeah. Marie asking what happened to Lewis Hamilton. He had an engine failure in the middle sector of the track, and unfortunately, he has also had to retire from the race.
Yeah, so 2 world champions down, 1 left on the track right now. Sergio Perez is up at 7th. He's currently the last remaining Red Bull as a result of Max Verstappen's DNF. He's chasing down Russell, and he's right on the back of him right now with DRS, and that's the fight right now. That's brewed in 6th position, and Perez is going around the track a lot quicker than George Russell. So one imagines we'll see an overtake very shortly.
Well, Sergio Perez has to stay within that 1 second gap. George Russell does seem to have a little bit of pace through the tighter sectors, but then Perez pulls him back down these long main straights.
Yeah, indeed. So Perez now, will he try and make a move on George Russell this lap? We are on board with him right now, getting so close to him as a result of DRS on that main straight. Let's see into the next DRS zone, of course, how close he can get to that Mercedes. Hopefully George Russell will save some ERS, of course, some energy savings there to try and get him over the line and away from Perez with that DRS. But it's going to be quite a difficult challenge, of course. Red Bull's car has been so dominant for so many seasons now that one imagines this will be hopefully a relatively easy move for Sergio Perez. For the rest of us, hopefully we can see quite a lot of fighting between the two of them.
Josh asking, is there any chance that his Red Bull fastest pit stop bet can still happen here today with Max being out? Yes, of course, there's still another Red Bull car in this race, and those Red Bull mechanics are often the best. As Sergio Perez goes round the outside into turn 9, absolutely very, very ballsy move to make there around the outside into turn 9, but he does make that move stick. He has the DRS to defend now from George Russell, and they make their way through turn 11 and the last tricky, tight sector. Sergio Perez now pulling away from that Mercedes.
Indeed. So he has managed to get into 6th place. As I said, that battle was going to happen. I said this lap, I imagine we might see that overtake. And indeed, we did see it. So Sergio Perez now comes down the main straight in 6th position ahead of George Russell, who's now finds himself in 7th. Sergio Perez is chasing down Fernando Alonso, who came out on medium tyres, which is very interesting as a result of his pit stop, which luckily put him into 5th position. He's come out on the medium tyre. Now, do you think that's a bit of an odd strategy from Aston Martin, given
No, he started on hards.
I suppose it is a good point. So he'll move on the mediums now and then
He
back
has
onto
to
the hard
change
tyre.
tyres, so yeah.
So he'll go into the medium now, then back onto the hards. So hopefully these medium tyres will do him some favours. But up there in 5th right now, he's looking for quite a lot of points. He's really going to hope that he can get as many as possible. Lance Stroll, his teammate, down there in 8th. So it's looking like a decent day for Aston Martin in terms of what's happened as a result. There's DNS for points, but can they try and make it stick? Yuki Tsunoda and Alexander Albon also looking for points. Russ on the radio.
Just also saying the exact same thing that Lewis Hamilton said. That car is like a rocket ship, speaking about the Red Bull of Sergio Perez. As I'm trying to think there who said that. MarTV says Perez is coming back. Let's go. He is. He's now got a 4.2 second gap to Fernando Alonso ahead of him, but still a lot of work to do. Mar also saying Toto in shambles right now with Lewis as Carlos Sainz sets the fastest lap of the race with the 121.7.
As well as I was going to comment on Carlos Sainz now. He's managed to build that gap up to almost 2 seconds already again, having had Leclerc almost in DRS range, and now that gap is built back up to 2 seconds. So Carlos Sainz and Leclerc leading this race quite comfortably there, but the two McLarens in 3rd and 4th behind them. They're also going quite comfortably. Piastri is 2.4 seconds behind Leclerc. Norris is 2.2 seconds behind Piastri. Alonso there sitting in 5th. He didn't think he'd be there anytime soon. And let's see how long he can stay there. Though Sergio Perez will be chipping away at his time slowly but surely down at 6th. So
Lindy, where there says, fingers crossed for Albon to get a point in Sargent's car, but it means that Sargent's car will have a point above Sargent, the driver. No, it won't. The points go to the driver, not to the car.
No, but she's not wrong, or he's not wrong, rather, because in terms of the car, I mean, the car's got more points than the driver has. Yeah. So that'd be quite funny, of course, to look at. So Logan Sargent must be quite disappointed looking at this all happening there. And we've got a very long comment there. From
very excited from the Ferrari fans. They get one sniff at a race win and they all go crazy. But it just shows there has been absolute dominance between Mercedes and Red Bull for the past couple of years. We're so excited to get someone other than those two on the top step of the podium.
Indeed. Now we're looking at the two Haas's in 11th and 12th who are fighting it out a little bit for 11th. Hulkenberg's on the medium tyre versus Magnussen on the hard, and Hulkenberg will be swapping positions as he gets told to swap positions with his teammate. Now he moves into 11th position. So no fighting there between the two, just simple team orders, and they listen. So boring for the rest of us, but meanwhile for Haas at least it's good team orders.
I don't understand what is happening with Daniel Ricciardo. He was 1.2 seconds off the back of Hulkenberg at one point. Now he's like 4 seconds back. Max Verstappen, just watching a replay of him in the pits, of course, out of this race because of a brake failure.
Yeah, indeed. So watching a replay of him leaving the pits, and he goes around the back there with a Red Bull in hand, and he's over this race. He's going to go find himself a nice position to go and just chill for the rest of the day, and maybe mull things over as to what happened. But I think not anything on his side. I think there was an issue with an engineer, somebody who's made a mistake. So as you say, somebody's going to get a talking to at the end of the day after do a debrief and find out what on earth happened for Max Verstappen. He's out. Lewis Hamilton's also out. I wonder what they're going to have to say about that engine failure as well. Though, of course, it's not as significant as Max Verstappen, our world champion for multiple seasons now, out of this race. First race that he's been out of in how many races? I can't even tell you.
I think a couple of seasons, actually.
Yeah. I cannot even tell you the last time Max Verstappen did not finish a race. So he's not going to finish this one. Another fastest lap gets put in by Carlos Sainz, who's now taking advantage of that DNF. Up there in first, the Ferrari's looking like a great day for them.
Seth saying there's a piece of Max's car on the track, no safety car. No, there's not a piece of car on the track. There's a tiny piece of the brake Capeton that's on the outside of turn 13, and it's not in the way, so they're not going to remove it. So, yeah.
And so
don't need to fret about that.
It's just a reminder of what happened to Max Verstappen. Each time somebody comes around and says, oh, there's the piece of Max Verstappen. Lap 25 of 58, almost into the halfway stage here, and it's looking very good for Ferraris and the McLarens. Though the McLarens would have hoped that they'd be catching the Ferraris a little bit quicker. Though, having said that, they are chipping away at Leclerc slowly but surely. Piastri was 2.4 seconds behind him. It's now 2 seconds. And Lando Norris as well was 2.3 seconds behind Piastri. It's now 2 seconds as well. Piastri and Norris trying to chase down Leclerc, though Leclerc's lost time to Carlos Sainz, now 3 seconds behind him.
Yes, well, this is certainly looking like it should be Ferrari's race here today. Piastri now 1.8 seconds off the back of Leclerc. Could he be catching? He is. He's closing that gap down to 1.7 seconds now. So Piastri finding some pace out on circuit. Hopefully he'll be able to challenge that second place Ferrari of Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, so that's going to be a battle that brews soon. Another battle that's brewing is Sergio Perez and Fernando Alonso for 5th place. I don't think it's going to last too long for Fernando Alonso. They're in quite clearly a weaker car than the Red Bull. So Sergio Perez will make light work of it soon. But let's see if Fernando Alonso tries to fight it out a little bit just to call something.
Nico Hülkenberg currently chasing down Alex Albon for that final points position in 10th place. Albon finally getting some points, but Hülkenberg is going to be desperately trying to steal that away from him. Hülkenberg's on a set of medium tyres with Alex Albon on a set of hards. You can really see how much better pace Nico Hülkenberg has through that final corner. Much, much neater than Alex Albon, and the top speed difference is also just huge between those two.
Indeed. I think the next DRS zone is going to prove a problem for Alexander Albon. Nico Hülkenberg, I'm sure, will try and take him now as he gets into that DRS range. Let's see how much quicker he is than Alexander Albon. He's not going to make a dive yet. He'll wait for the next one, I think. Another one we need to look at is Sergio Perez. He's now only 1.2 seconds behind Fernando Alonso there for 5th position.
1.1.
And it's just dropping very, very quickly there. So Sergio Perez will be making a move very shortly on Fernando Alonso ahead of him. Again, I'm interested to see what Fernando Alonso is going to try and do. Is he going to try and defend away from him, or is he just going to let him pass? I think he might just let him pass. He knows that it's not his fight there. But he's found himself in a very different position than he thought he would. He doesn't really know what his race is now. Looking at the comments, lots of people coming in here, noting all these various things. Go Piastri and Norris. And lots of people asking about Max Verstappen again, a brake failure in the 3rd lap. As a result, he won his race.
I don't think we're going to repeat that again. I'm a bit tired of saying Max Verstappen's had a brake failure. We've said it about 20 times. People in the comments, you can just inform everyone else. As we have 560 of you all watching alongside with us, but only 21 likes on the video. Be sure to hit that like button, as well as subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. We're really jumping up in subs this weekend. We've jumped by a couple hundred from yesterday to today. So be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with all of the latest Formula One and motorsport news. We, of course, have the Moto GP as well taking part this afternoon. That is going to be streamed on this channel as well. Sergio Perez still chasing down Fernando Alonso. That gap is now half a second between the two of them.
I don't think he's going to be still chasing down. It's been such a quick chase that he's already going to be taking it. I'm sure as he comes into this corner, DRS is wide open for him, and he's going to go around the outside. He's going to go on the inside and takes him very easily. Fernando Alonso not fighting it at all. And Sergio Perez now moves into 5th position on this hard tyre, and is now looking at that 12-second gap he's got to Lando Norris ahead of him in 4th. George Russell still can't seem to keep up to Sergio Perez at all, 7 seconds behind. So is Alonso and Russell now fighting, do you think?
Alonso and Russell, I think it could become a little bit of a fight. Russell is quite far back off of him, though. So I think Alonso just needs to manage his tyres now and keep that gap where it is.
That's what I said. I think that's what I was pointing out to. I was saying, is it Alonso and Russell now fighting for 6th? I think Alonso should be fine. And also looking at Lance Stroll, the other Aston Martin, he's not far away from George Russell. So the Aston Martin and the Mercedes clearly, but maybe those two are going to be fighting. Just watching a replay of Sergio Perez go around the inside of the Aston Martin, just so much quicker than Fernando Alonso is Sergio Perez there. So easy overtake for him, and he moves comfortably into 5th position. Now, do you think he can get any more points than 5th, or do you think this is pretty much the point that he could have got to.
Well, depending on safety cars and crashes or red flags, Perez could come back into this, but 12 seconds is a massive gap to have to make up now.
Yeah, indeed. Alex Albon, meanwhile, has made his way into the pits. He's come out in 15th position. Lando Norris on board with him, of course, is chasing down his teammate Piastri. Piastri's gap to Leclerc ahead of him has now increased again to 2.5 seconds. So clearly Leclerc was told to just increase his speed a little bit just to keep the threat of an overtake away from him. Lando Norris getting quite close to his teammate now. So will we see team orders come in if somebody's quicker than another, or will we see some genuine fighting in the McLarens?
Well, I'm hoping we'll get given the fight from the McLarens, because I'd love to see that infighting between Piastri and Norris, as I think it could be quite exciting, as Piastri is told to swap the positions.
I wonder if Piastri will do it, because he's currently in 3rd place.
He's moved over. He's doing it.
Yeah, well, fair play to Piastri. So he makes
Norris is on fresher tyres, though.
Yeah. Well, Norris has to take advantage of it, of course. He can't go slowly, otherwise Piastri's going to force the overtake. We'll see what happens near the end of the race if we do still see the two of them right there in 3rd and 4th. Will Norris give that podium position back to Piastri? I don't think so. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of interesting words, I'm sure, in the team afterwards. Although Piastri doesn't seem to be that type of confrontational person, which is sometimes not a good thing in Formula One, but for now, it'll suit them. Of course, Piastri.
Well, he wasn't closing the gap to Leclerc ahead of him, so they may as well have taken that opportunity with Lando Norris. If he doesn't make anything happen, then I don't see the harm in maybe swapping back with Piastri.
No, indeed. Zhou Guanyu, after starting in 19th, is now up there in 13th position. Now getting a little bit of a fight with Pierre Gasly brewing here behind him in that Alpine. The Alpine's not having a great day in 14th and 17th, respectively. The 17th is now technically last. Bottas, also after that terrible pit stop, is all the way down in 16th. So watching down at the bottom there, Ricciardo's now up into 12th. But again, I don't think we're going to see too much more from that RB car. Tsunoda in the points,
He's done nothing all day. He's stayed in that position. Zhou Guanyu, Gasly, Albon, and Bottas are only behind him because of pit stops, as well as bad luck. Unfortunately, Ricciardo's really been nowhere.
Well, we say that. I mean, Ricciardo's number of pit stops with regards to Zhou Magnussen, I mean, he's thereabouts. With them. So Ricciardo's made up a couple of positions, but still not anywhere near where he needs to be. But
not
Tsunoda,
on track. He hasn't actually physically had to overtake anyone. Exactly. He's made up those positions by pit stops. Lando Norris coming onto the radio now, being told, I know you are, well, okay, Lando, I know you are, but we want to try and get up behind Leclerc. I don't know what that's in response to. Maybe he's just saying he's struggling a little bit and worrying about the tyre wear. As Daniel Ricciardo makes another pit stop. Yeah, so he's going to get even further.
Talking about Daniel Ricciardo, indeed. So he's going to come out further back. Of course, when we have other pit stops, we'll see where he fares with regards to the other drivers around him. But yes, lap 30 of 58. And one of the interesting things coming up here, Fernando Alonso is still sticking with Sergio Perez without DRS in the medium tyre. So it's quite clever for him to just use Sergio Perez's pace to get further away from Russell. Russell's gap now to Alonso is 8.9 seconds, almost 9 seconds. So clever work once again from the wise old fox, as you keep saying, Reese. Fernando Alonso using DRS to stick with Perez for as long as possible and get that gap to Russell even bigger to make it an easy pit stop for him in a little bit. Of course, he'll be back onto the hard tyre, I'm sure, very soon. And yeah, very good race for Aston Martin right now, managing to get a few points here than they thought they might be able to. George Russell, the last remaining Mercedes, he's going to be a little bit disappointed all the way down in 7th, and I don't think he's going to really improve his position anytime soon. So the only battles we can see brewing that matter is maybe Leclerc and Norris with Piastri. So it's the second place battle that might happen in the next 4, 5, 6 laps. But even then, Norris is struggling to chip away at Leclerc's time ahead of him. Yes,
2.6 seconds is that gap right now. It was over 3 seconds, now 2.5 seconds. So he is slowly eating away at it. But I think he needs to make it happen slightly faster than this, because the next phase of pit stops are coming up quite shortly.
Indeed, it's a very passionate Ferrari fan in the comment section. It clearly hasn't seen much history in recent times with regards to the Red Bulls. I don't think this is going to be the start of the Ferrari's redemption arc. I do think Red Bulls will come back even stronger next time around. But for now, we do watch Ferraris in first and second. It's been a long time since we've seen that. I'm very keen to see a double Ferrari podium if that does happen. Though I would love to see some fighting from the McLarens behind here. Fernando Alonso really having a good time here behind Perez. I think he's really enjoying himself.
Yes, I'm sure he is enjoying the fact that he's got someone to race with at the moment. As MarTV says, Patronus AMG shaking my head, and a bin emoji pretty much saying they may as well throw that car away. I saw another comment that I found very interesting, saying that the W14, last year's Challenger from Mercedes, is better than the W15. Maybe they should completely scrap it and go back.
Yeah, maybe they should. I think it was a quicker car because clearly they're not having fun in that Mercedes this season. Fernando Alonso still just staying with Sergio Perez. Now, Perez's car, of course, the Red Bull, I mean, it's quicker than last season, and I'm sure we'll see that continue for the rest of the season. But I mean, it's funny that Sergio Perez can't seem to do as much in the car as Max Verstappen. We're seeing very evidently now as a result, as he's the only one left for this Grand Prix. He's not nearly as quick as the Ferraris.
He doesn't gel with the car as much as Max does. It's Max's car. It's not Perez's car. Of course, the team have tried to develop it in a way that does suit Perez a little bit better, but it's still Max's car. It is fundamentally built around Max Verstappen. That is why Sergio Perez does have a bit of issues sometimes when handling this car.
Well, I mean, another thing to also look at, I mean, I'd be very intrigued to see if Sergio Perez was made the main driver of a team, a major team, the likes of, McLaren or something like that. I wonder how they would set the car up and how he would fare, because, of course, we've never really seen. He's been in that Red Bull, as you say, it's favored Max Verstappen's driving style, but Sergio Perez, of course, a very good driver in his own right. So I would have loved to have seen him in a car where he's been given the advantage and being given the car that he wants. I would love to see what he could have done.
Yes, Manisha, you're kind of annoying me a little bit. You keep asking for gaps. There are gaps on our timing boards. On the left-hand side, next to the drivers' names, you can see those timing gaps. It says Sainz and then Leclerc, and it has that gap of 8.6 seconds. So that's how you can tell the gaps. You don't need to ask us every 5 seconds in the comments. Charles Leclerc still trying to chase down Carlos Sainz. That gap is huge, though. Carlos Sainz rarely increasing that every single lap. He's got the fastest lap of the race at 121.0. He is doing really, really well out on circuit.
Lap 33 of 58, or lap 34 now, actually. Sainz crosses that line, and his interval right now to Charles Leclerc is 8.7 seconds. And I mean, it's quite a big gap now that's built between those two Ferraris there. Lando Norris is currently trying to catch up to Charles Leclerc in second. 1.8 seconds now is the gap, 1.7 seconds. So every now and then he chips away at that time, tries to get closer to that Ferrari, and then I think Leclerc just sort of turns on the thrusters a little bit and gets further ahead of him. But that now gap from Sainz to Leclerc is huge. I don't think it would build that much. I mean, it was almost DRS range earlier on. Of course, Sainz is on the fresher tyre, so it can last a little bit longer and he can afford to use it a little bit more, but it's a much bigger gap than I thought they'd build up. Sainz now, of course, not going to be in that Ferrari seat next season, and Hamilton, who's out of this race and been really struggling this season, he is. I mean, is that a mistake now?
Charles Leclerc saying, my front left is gone. I think we cannot wait too much for the next pit stop, as Leclerc is now falling into the clutches of Lando Norris. 1.2 seconds. He's really closing that gap quite quickly.
Yeah, indeed. I think they need to go into the pits just to fend away from this. So, desperate times might be calling for desperate measures. So, Charles Leclerc in second. 1.1 now is the gap to Norris, suddenly out of nowhere. So, the pit stop is coming for Ferrari, and there's going to be a pit stop for McLaren. Are they going to try and see if they can do a quicker pit stop?
They're going to try and match the likes of that stuff, I think, with maybe Piastri. Will Piastri come into the pits? I don't think so. I think he stays out.
I think it was a dummy stop there from McLaren just to force Ferrari into making that move. So Ferrari have come into the pits now. He's going to come out here. Let's see where he comes up. Will he come out ahead of Sergio Perez? I'm sure he will, just ahead of him. Sergio Perez is motoring down though there, so he might be fighting a little bit with him. So quite crucial. He comes into turn one ahead of him, and he's going to just get ahead of him. My word.
That was very close. But now Sergio Perez has got the warmer tyres. He's going to be able to get round Charles Leclerc there. Will he be able to mount a bit of a challenge into this next braking zone? No, he doesn't. Charles Leclerc defends brilliantly there to hold off from Sergio Perez. And this is now putting Sergio Perez under pressure from Fernando Alonso behind.
Well, so Fernando Alonso through all of this is just smiling, knowing, great, I've got a little bit more time to make up. And now he makes sure that he stays within DRS range and continues to build that gap to Russell behind him. So Alonso having some good fun there in 6th position. Sergio Perez came out so close to Charles Leclerc, but Charles Leclerc does very well to defend away from him. Of course, he couldn't afford to be fighting with Sergio Perez. He's got a different race to be running right now, so good for him to get ahead of him and to stay in that position there, up there in 4th, and now he will be chasing down those McLarens. I wonder when we'll see Norris and or Piastri into the pits as well. I'm sure they'll try and do it as quickly as possible. We know how much quicker that hard tyre is for a little while. So very crucial that we'll see the McLarens come into the pits very soon. It seems like Sergio Perez is going to be coming into the pits soon, as the Red Bull pit garage looks like they're going to be getting a pit stop underway very shortly.
10.5 seconds is the gap between Sainz and Norris right now. I'm watching that quite eagerly as Perez is told to come into the box right now for some new tyres.
Yeah, so Perez is going to come in for another set of hard tyres, we imagine, as a result of starting on those mediums, I believe he did start on. Did he start on mediums? I'm trying to remember now.
Perez?
Yes, I think he did, yeah. So he's going to come onto another set of hard tyres. Yeah, indeed, he does. That'll be his last pit stop for the race unless something else happens.
Small wing adjustments as well. 2.4 second stop, not bad at all from Sergio Perez here today. He comes out behind Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah, I don't think he'll take too long to get past that RB car as well. I also wonder, I mean, I know they're two different teams technically. I mean, do you think there are team orders that pretty much come into RB that says, hey, let the mothership team get past very easily? So, Sergio Perez in the proper Red Bull compared to Tsunoda's RB. It's very interesting there. We've got a problem here for Kick Sauber again. Zhou Guanyu in the pits here. Something's happened with him. Kick Sauber's pit team is garbage. Don't know what's happening here. They just can't seem to make a decision up here. What are they waiting on? What are they waiting
just sitting
for?
there. I have no clue. Don't really care. He's at the back of the grid anyways. Continuing on, though, with Leclerc chasing down now Piastri ahead of him. 15.2 seconds is that gap from Leclerc to Piastri. They, of course, still need to have a pit stop from Lando Norris and Piastri, as well as Carlos Sainz. Sainz's gap to Norris, though, is falling now to 9.9 seconds. It has fallen underneath that 10-second gap.
I do think that we'll see that to continue to do that for a little while. Of course, Norris is on the freshest. Well, Norris and Sainz are on the same set of tyres in terms of freshness. So we'll see that thereabouts at around 10 seconds now that Leclerc is out of the way. But I'm now going to be watching Leclerc to see what happens there. As we see Alex Albon get very close to Hulkenberg in the battle for 11th. They're just trying to go around the outside, and Hulkenberg just squeezes him out and says, no, thank you. As Tsunoda's now made his way into the pits, he's currently in 9th position. He'll come out, I imagine, with that fight there with Hulkenberg and Albon. So, yeah, he does come out there onto the pits now. Let's see what sort of fight's going to happen here. And
Albon coming onto the radio just to say that move from Hulkenberg was dangerous. He did kind of push him off a little bit. As Carlos Sainz is now approaching Daniel Ricciardo to overtake him. He has now overlapped him.
Yeah, so Carlos Sainz is now lapping people.
Sad for Daniel Ricciardo's home race.
Yeah, indeed. Piastri, of course, he's the other home driver here. The more Australian fans have been watching him and hoping something else happens there. He's in 3rd right now. He's in a podium position. Of course, he is not technically, though. If he comes into the pits, he should come out behind.
If there is a crash or something right now, and the likes of Lando Norris and Piastri get into the pits and come out ahead of Leclerc, raptures for Ferrari fans. Absolutely.
Indeed, exactly that. Though, right now, they're going to have to think about pitting very, very soon, as Charles Leclerc has just put in the fastest lap of the day down there in 4th. So one imagines the McLarens need to react soon.
But there's still 20 laps left. You don't want to be stuck on these tyres for 20 laps. They're trying to go as far as they can on these older hards to be able to have a shorter stint at the end of the race. Well, that's going to be an interesting one to see. A lot of pit stops happening right now as we see Lance Stroll comes into the pits there in 8th position. He's not in the pits. He's still in the points. Aston Martins are quite enjoying their time right now. Alonso 6.3 seconds behind Leclerc in 5th. He's 4.6 seconds ahead of George Russell, who's in 6th. So that gap has fallen a little bit for Fernando Alonso. So when he comes into the pits, he needs to make sure that he times his pit stop very, very well in terms of staying ahead of George Russell. Watching a replay of Valtteri Bottas and the pit stop for him, so another bad stop. No, that seemed to be fine apparently. So that pit stop was fine. So, no, something's flown off the car. Indeed, something has. Yes. What have they done now? What is going on with this Kick Sauber team? Let's just see. Just wait to see. Up. Yeah. It's a wheel nut off the old tyre. That's fine. Yeah, the wheel nut just makes its way away.
Is there another wheel that gets sparked?
No, that's the old one.
That. Yeah, so Kick Sauber's pit crew needs a serious look at, because today has been absolutely shocking. They're both out of this race, not necessarily because of the car, but because definitely the pit crew. I mean, completely garbage from Kick Sauber. Absolutely terrible. They're now very solidly at 16th and 17th. Watching a replay of Oscar Piastri, does he make a little bit of a moment here? Yes, he does. Locks up badly coming into the final second back corner. Oh my word, he's lost a lot of time.
Oh, he may as well have just gone into the pits there.
I mean, he's definitely just given away his podium chance.
He never had it, though, to be honest, unless there is a safety car of some sort now.
Look at that gap, down from 13 seconds to 8.5 now as a result of that mistake from Oscar Piastri in his home race. Terrible, now being told to box because now his tyres are completely finished after going into the grass there. So terrible for Oscar Piastri there, ruining his own strategy. And yeah, I mean, terrible lockup there into that second last corner.
It is very difficult in that second to last corner. You can see just how low the grip levels are on his car. It gets so close to the wall.
And he's now into the pits there. And let's see where he'll come out. I think he might be coming out with Fernando Alonso even. So
what are they going to put on? Another set of parts. Slow on the front left. Slow on the front left. He's been released now, though. 3.5 seconds stop time.
His Grand Prix is slipping away from him very, very quickly as George Russell now comes around the exit there. He's going to be fighting with George Russell on the exit here. Is Oscar Piastri? Not really, I suppose. He's a little bit further ahead of him. He comes out in between Fernando Alonso and George Russell. And Norris now being told to box this lap coming up. So again, all eyes will be on Sainz as to when he comes into the pits as well, though he can wait a lot longer than most.
Naya asking when the top three are going to pit. Well, we have had Oscar Piastri, who was in third place, come into the pits. Now he's down in P5. Carlos Sainz should be coming into the pits soon, as should Lando Norris. But this could very well hand the lead to Charles Leclerc.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure it's going to necessarily hand the lead to him, because I think it might be a temporary thing. Sainz has got such a big gap there, and I imagine on the fresher tyres he'll get further ahead as well. He can afford to stay out longer. As Norris now, he's going to come out with another set of hard tyres. He's going to come into the pits. Let's hope it's a good pit stop for him if he wants to try and fight it out with Charles Leclerc. It's going to be an interesting one to watch here. So, pit stop for Lando Norris now. How quick is it going to be?
On his marks now, a little bit of a slower front left again. Still not bad, 2.6 seconds. Not terrible, not phenomenal.
Well, here comes Charles Leclerc down the straight, and he gets past Lando Norris quite easy, so he's quite far ahead of him. And Sainz now being told to box nice and early as well. It's interesting. He's going to come in immediately, and I think that's going to be to fend away from Charles Leclerc maybe a little bit, just to try to sort of keep that gap as big as possible. And yeah, Lando Norris comes out in third position. He's about 4 seconds, just under 4 seconds behind Charles Leclerc, who's got a gap of 26 seconds to Carlos Sainz ahead of him. So great race so far for Ferrari, managing it very, very well. And Fernando Alonso currently finds himself in fourth position. He's still yet to pit, of course. He needs to come to the pits again. But currently finds himself in fourth, though Piastri is now within DRS range of him. And I imagine Piastri will be fighting him a little bit for that fourth place. I'm not sure Alonso will fight him for that, though.
Manisha, you really need to learn how to read. We've got all of these graphics up on our timing boards for you guys. If you look at the top of the timing boards, it says there are 18 laps left. So that is how many laps we do have left of this race. Currently, it is on the 41st lap as we now have Carlos Sainz in the pits, and he is putting on a new set of tires. Good lap, a good stop from him at least. 2.6 second stop there for Carlos Sainz. Not terrible. As more music says, catch up to Kevin. I assume he's talking about Daniel Ricciardo. Yeah. Trying to get Daniel Ricciardo to find some more pace out here on track. As Charles Leclerc now sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:20 point. I think it was a 0.2.
I think it was as well, yes. I think it was around about that. As Alonso's now in the pits, let's see how quick this pit stop is for Aston Martin. Where is he going to come out? I think that's going to be a very interesting one. And also, when is George Russell going to pit? Only one pit stop still. And he's fighting with Alonso. 2.6 seconds, not too bad from the Aston Martins. They're watching a replay here of, I believe this is Oscar Piastri, just makes a little bit of a, they're getting very close to each other, is Fernando Alonso and Oscar Piastri there. I think, though, Fernando Alonso can't really do too much about that. Lots of jostling for positions there, and eventually Oscar Piastri gets past him into that second to last corner. And watching a replay here also of that RB of, oh my word, is that
that's Yuki Tsunoda fighting it out with Pierre Gasly for, Yuki Tsunoda is trying to overtake unlapped cars, so getting past cars that are not even in this race, and they're really fighting it with him.
Oh, they're not? No, they're not. Yeah, as you say, good point. So very much not really giving him the benefit there for being ahead by pretty much a whole lap there. Gasly now in the pits, and Haas here of, I believe this is Nico Hulkenberg. No, it's Kevin Magnussen chasing down Alexander Albon for 11th position. Alexander Albon not having the greatest race for himself so far. Started in 12th, he's only up into 11th. Still looking for points here. Can Alexander Albon get into the points, or is this pretty much a lost cause? I think it's pretty much a lost cause for Williams. I think that 10th place is probably going to go to a Haas right now, as Magnussen is really closing down their gap to Albon. Now, there you go. He makes a dive, although Alex Albon...
That was so late. That could have really taken both of them out coming into that corner. Brilliant overtake from Alex Albon. A bit risky, but he did make that move stick.
Well, good defense from him. Of course, he's still ahead of Magnussen. Magnussen trying to make a late move there into it, but Alexander Albon just shuts him off at the very last minute there. Still holds on to 11th. But I mean, I'm not sure how much longer he's going to be able to hold on to it, but that was really, really close.
That was way, way too close there for comfort. That could have been a massive, massive accident, but good racing from those two to keep it clean.
Indeed. So 15 laps remaining of this race. Carlos Sainz's interval to Leclerc behind him is only 5 seconds now. Carlos Sainz, of course, did come into the pits earlier, so he is now on his final tyres. Russell saying that his tyres are feeling good. So interesting that he said that. Of course, he still needs to come to the pits, though, unless he's thinking that he's going to try and hold on to these tyres till the end of the race. It'd be a very difficult one to do. He's on 34-lap-old tyres. One imagines he needs to get into the pits very, very soon. Will he come out in medium tyres, though, because of the amount of laps left? You know, it's not too many. He's probably got enough time.
Well, he's just said he's still feeling good on those tyres, so I think they may leave him out until the grip levels go away, as Lando Norris now steals the fastest lap time away from Charles Leclerc with 1:20.6.
Well, Piastri does actually, rather.
Well, sorry, Piastri.
No, I think Piastri stole it away from Lando
yes,
Norris.
he has.
Yeah,
They're just trading lap times right now, as I think this is Hulkenberg or Magnussen still chasing down on Albon for that 11th position, as he does take a late lunge, tries to get round to Willie. Oh, my word, that was so close.
It's great racing between the two of them here. Alexander Albon and Magnussen getting so close to each other each time. Albon doing some brilliant defense here, but it's so last minute at the moment. So great to watch here between the two. Not even for points. It's only for 11th position, but great racing between the two here. And Williams and Haas. Will Magnussen be able to try and make a move here into turn 1, though? You're not really going to be able to see it. So Alexander Albon still holds on to 11th right now. And what's crucial is that now Magnussen each time is having to slam on brakes a little bit last minute. And it's going to ruin his tyres slightly.
Pit lane infringement noted for Valtteri Bottas. I don't know what that's going to be for.
I
don't think that's his infringement, though. That would be a team infringement, not a driver infringement.
It's a good point. So maybe
he came into the pits too quickly. Maybe he broke the speed limit. We'll have to wait and keep you posted on what the FIA say about that incident and that infringement from Valtteri Bottas in the pits.
Well, seeing a few comments there for love in terms of our commentary. So thank you so much to a couple of you there for your comments there. It's very much appreciated. And be sure
Piastri goes even faster. But now Nico Hulkenberg or Kevin Magnussen gets around the outside of Alex Albon and steals 11th position finally away from Albon in that Williams. And disappointing for Albon.
Yeah, that's very disappointing. He's back into 12th position, which is where he started the race, and it doesn't look like he's going to move anywhere further ahead from that position. So, that is probably the overtake of the day. Not that it was necessarily a very good one, but just leading up to it, of course, it took 3 laps for him to do so. So Kevin Magnussen moves into 11th position, now chases down his teammate Nico Hulkenberg in 10th for that final points position. Just going back, of course, please be sure to like the video if you have not done so already. Smash that like button right now and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And be sure to go check out our channel sponsor, BITDEFENDER, in the description there. BITDEFENDER for all your cybersecurity needs. Of course, we're looking at that Red Bull pit wall, looking very disappointed, watching a replay of Max Verstappen where he retired on lap 3.
You could see pretty much from that first corner how he was struggling with the brakes there. He could not get the car stopped and was just able to keep it ahead of Carlos Sainz. And then it started smoking away, and you could see the telltale signs that there was an issue on his car. Unfortunately, that meant he had to retire from the race, and then we got Lewis Hamilton with an engine failure, also retiring, and then you see that entire proper brake failure from Max Verstappen as he came into the pits. That entire brake jump just exploded. It's damaged his rear wing, damaged the side part of the car. A lot of work for the Red Bull mechanics to do in their pack-up, not what they wanted to have. at all.
No, indeed. And we wondered when Russell was coming to the pits. He has just come to the pits. 2.5 seconds. He's onto the hard tyre.
They should have put him on a set of softs or something to the end of the race.
That was so weird. As I said, surely they would have gone to at least mediums or something. I'm thinking there's not too many
Unless
laps.
maybe they're just seeing with current track temperature, these hards are the ones that have performed the best. They swapped Hamilton over from the softs relatively early in the race, so clearly they saw today that the softs just aren't working.
Yeah, well, I don't think they're necessarily going to go to the softs, as you say, but I would have thought mediums, though, because, there's not too many laps remaining. I think he would have got a little bit further ahead on the mediums.
No one's deciding to go onto the mediums. Clearly, the hards are working a lot better than the mediums here as well.
Yeah, so hard tyre, clearly the preferential tyre. Now, George Russell's gap to Alonso ahead of him is 3 seconds, but crucially, he's got fresher tyres. So that's going to be the battle towards the end of this race here to watch, I suppose, that might be brewing. Is George Russell and Fernando Alonso, though, again, Norris putting in another fastest lap. Is he going to chase down Leclerc for second?
That is the new race lap record around here, 1:19.9 for Lando Norris. Brilliant lap time from himself. That's putting in quality lap times around here already.
I mean, it's quite incredible there from Lando Norris in third position on the hard tyre as well. So, battles that are going to brew here in the last pretty much 11 laps of this race. Leclerc and Norris for second position. Will we see something there? And Alonso and Russell now under 3 seconds rather, to Alonso ahead of him for sixth position. And Yuki Tsunoda's not too far away from Lance Stroll either, 2.6 seconds there in that RB car, though I don't think he'll be able to catch up to him. So, 2 battles to watch.
Is that Audi?
No, I said Tsunoda.
I was said in that Audi car.
No, RB.
Okay, I was very confused. You're ahead, but that's fine.
Yes, soon we'll have an Audi, but it won't be for RB. It will be for Kickstarter, luckily, because they're all the way down 15th, 16th.
Cora, I'm very jealous. They're busy building Senna Lego at the moment. Definitely very jealous. I got a little Lego McLaren, but it's not as good. I'm sure yours is a little bit more impressive. I assume it must be one of your birthday presents. But continuing to watch on with Charles Leclerc, that move around the outside of, I think that was Gasly, some traffic. Did he have a little bit of a moment in turns 9 and 10? Ooh, getting very close to the wall there, possibly. That may have been the issue. Let's see how close he got. 10 centimeters to the wall. He didn't hit it. 10 centimeters.
Was that a flag, though, that was just chilling on the outside?
No, it's a little bit of the barrier branding that's coming off, as some cars have ever so slightly nudged it.
Yes. So, Leclerc's gap to Lando Norris now building a little bit again. I think Leclerc's responded a little bit, so now almost up to 4 seconds again. So Leclerc clearly being told, mate, just get a little bit quicker. You need to defend away from McLaren's. So 10 laps remaining. What is going to happen? Let us know in the comments. Will Lando take Leclerc for second? Will Russell get past Alonso? It's under 2 seconds now already.
And don't forget that we currently have a poll running. Who will win the Australian Grand Prix? Of course, the top option is no longer should be an option. Max Verstappen, who currently has 31%, Sainz has 54% of that poll right now. Norris with 6% and none with 9%. So let's see what happens now. Pierre Gasly has received a 5-second time penalty, and we're waiting for the reasoning on that for failing to follow the race director's instructions for crossing the line at the pit exit. So I think he got a note from that early on in the weekend. So that kind of is his own fault. And he's received a 5-second time penalty for that, unfortunately.
It's not going to make too much of a difference. It's all the way down in 14th, a terrible race for him. He's 21 seconds behind Ricciardo, who's now in 13th position. So Ricciardo up from is further back. He's now up into 13th. Still not where he wants to be and where we want him to be either. Down in 13th. He's chasing Alexander Albon, who's in 12th. It looks like the rest of the grid's going to pretty much stay where they are, though eyes again are on George Russell and Alonso. Now that is the battle that's brewing here. Russell's managed to get that gap down to 1.3, now 1.2 seconds. So can Fernando Alonso defend from that Mercedes? How is Fernando Alonso going to manage this? He's done brilliant things in the past. We saw that with Sergio Perez. He did the same thing last season. I think it was in Brazil, where we saw right down to the wire Fernando Alonso managing all the tyres with that Red Bull behind him. Will he manage to do the same sort of thing here with George Russell?
It's going to be difficult. At least in Brazil, you've got all of those technical sectors where you can defend for quite some time. This has really long straights, and you can just see how that Mercedes is reeling in. the Aston Martin, as Lando Norris sets another fastest lap with a 1:19.915. The gap is now down to 9.7 seconds between himself and Charles Leclerc.
Well, the good news is we know that Fernando Alonso will be defending in 6th position. He's going to be defending hard here, of course, because he's got no other race to try and win here. No other battle rather to try and win here in this race. So Fernando Alonso, I'm sure he's going to try and take a little bit of what he saw from maybe Alexander Albon earlier today with Kevin Magnussen. So yeah, you just see.
Gasly crossed that way too early. There's a line that determines where the end of the pit lane is, and he crossed it before the end of that line. So it's a pretty cut and done penalty. As George Russell's actually having a little bit of a struggle here. I saw him having a couple corrections coming through turn 2, which just allows Fernando Alonso to hold on to this position for a couple more laps.
Well, it does mean that he's still out of DRS range for George Russell. So Fernando Alonso just trying to keep that gap at outside DRS. It will be a little bit easier for him to defend if he's not having to worry about that as well. I think Russell will be reserving his EOS to maybe try and take a quick overtake. He doesn't want to get drawn into a long battle here with Alonso, because if that does happen, it just gives Alonso more of a chance towards the end of the race, because then he can stick within DRS range for a little bit longer. So who's playing the more clever game here between the two? Mercedes versus Aston Martin for 6th position. Alonso, all the experience, versus Russell, who's going to be the new number 1 driver for Mercedes, one imagines next season. So experience versus youth. Let's see what happens.
Yes, Manisha asking any more overtaking points. You don't get points for overtaking in Formula 1. Samindy saying, shame that Carlos is not offering a seat for next year. But I think that's something in Spanish, which I'm not even going to attempt. But I'm pretty sure someone will offer Carlos Sainz a seat with the way that he is currently driving. If it's not Audi, then it might be Mercedes. Some people asking if Toto will land Max. I don't think so. Max is quite set in that Red Bull seat till at least I think about 2028 is his contract. I'm pretty sure Sainz will more than likely end up in a Mercedes or an Audi.
I really will have to wonder whether Mercedes will look at Sainz now, because, I mean, not to that person, but Carlos Sainz, since being told, and even last season, since, Charles Leclerc has been struggling, he's actually been, I still maintain, the better Ferrari driver. Yeah. He has been far more consistent. He's been quicker. He struggled
to get up to pace last year. He had a couple of incidents, a couple of mistakes. But that is to be expected when you're learning a new car.
But on top of that, though, he was the only other race winner outside of the Red Bull car. So, Carlos Sainz knows what it is to win in and amongst an exceptionally dominant Red Bull era. And now he's going on to win another race for himself ahead of Leclerc again. Better Grand Prix than Charles Leclerc. He's had a much better season so far. I mean, it's only 3 races in, but still. I mean, it's an odd one that they so quickly axed Sainz when, quite frankly, why wouldn't you hold on to him for another season? What's Lewis Hamilton going to do differently to Sainz? I don't think anything. And frankly, one's a lot cheaper than the other.
But I think Lewis Hamilton brings certain aspects to the team with his experience. He brings building a car, and it's more the fact that you bring this person with so much experience that can build up the team again and hopefully make decisions for the future of Ferrari. AA saying, I have a prediction for Carlos to join Audi, but I just remember that Audi will enter the grid in 2026. I think they start taking ownership of that Sauber team, though, next year, if I'm not mistaken, and then take a full takeover in 2026.
So one imagines that Zhou Guanyu will drop out of that Kick Sauber team, and Sainz will fill that gap just for the season. Problem is, for Carlos Sainz, it's going to be so disappointing to go from what is essentially a race-winning car.
But then it allows him to start building his 2026 car in 2025, which is quite important. So it's making those calculated risks with joining a new team.
And it's also looking at the future right now. We're going to see different drivers heading up each team. I mean, maybe you're going to see the likes of, I'm very keen to see what happens for Aston Martin as well, because I think Aston Martin might be looking to try and make a bigger step in Formula 1 in the coming seasons. So you're going to see Carlos Sainz in that Audi team in 2026, who's essentially going to be their lead driver, one imagines. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, but Charles Leclerc will still be pretty much given the number 1 seat in that Ferrari car. It'll be much like what is Alonso and Stroll right now, even though Alonso is actually the number 1 driver. But the concept is that Stroll would take over. Not that anybody wants that. We'll see Lando Norris as the number 1 driver in McLaren. We'll see Max Verstappen number 1 in Red Bull. Russell number 1 in Mercedes. So, I mean, who's going to be that number 1 driver Aston Martin essentially going forward as well. I think that's another one we would want to look at. I mean, it's all these new drivers going to be leading their teams in terms of building cars. I think that's going to be interesting.
Well, I think if Aston Martin bring in another driver, they're going to pretty much immediately dominate Stroll. I don't think Stroll's been the upper driver in any team he's been to. He's never taken that stance of being the top driver, unfortunately. Just saying, Hamilton's era is over. It's a risky gamble with Ferrari's wacky teamwork, not the driver. The risk is more, and I don't think it is worth it. As Josh asks, what does interval mean? So the interval is the gap in between drivers. So the current interval between Sainz and Leclerc is 4.9 seconds. The interval between Leclerc and Norris is 3.2 seconds, 3.29, as Norris slowly brings that down.
Yeah. So going back to the fight here, of course, Alonso versus Russell in 6th and 7th. Russell is within DRS range of Alonso, but not watching him right now. There we go. Now we're on board with George Russell on that main straight. Fernando Alonso ahead of him. So last 4 laps here. How is Fernando Alonso going to defend? I don't think he's going
to make this work on Alonso. Alonso is doing brilliantly to just stay in the right parts of the track to get in Russell's way, essentially, in the braking zones. Yeah, he's doing really well. Leonardo saying as long as Aston Martin is Stroll's team, he is staying. And then Tipavo is asking, where do you think Daniel will end up next season? IndyCar.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be in Formula One again. No, I think this is his last season.
Super disappointing, but I don't think he's got it anymore for Formula One.
No. Alonso now trying to obviously defend away from George Russell behind him. So we're watching that towards the end of the space. Last 3 laps now that we have entered. And here comes George Russell getting very close to the back of Fernando Alonso. As a result of that DRS, but Fernando Alonso, again, as you said, positioning his car perfectly to defend away from the Mercedes behind him. And it's going to be a very difficult overtake for George Russell. He's got DRS range, DRS open again. He's going to look a little bit down the inside there, but Fernando Alonso again.
Alonso just positions his car absolutely perfectly, just showing his expertise in defending. He just completely parks that car in the middle of the road in the braking zone, doesn't allow George Russell to even have a look down his inside or outside. And he's too far again, as Lewis Hamilton is watching from the pits, looking quite disappointed that he's not being able to take part in this race.
Exactly. Now, watching his teammate, George Russell, who's essentially now Mercedes' #1 driver as a result of Lewis Hamilton leaving at the end of the season, is watching Russell now. Let's see how he battles with a former world champion, Fernando Alonso, who's again still defending away from George Russell. But this is a lot closer than it was last lap in terms of coming into this next DRS. So let's see what George Russell can do here. I think we're going to see a very, very close and very, very tight overtake here from George Russell. George Russell needs to be clever though, because if he overtakes him a little too early, Alonso will will try and take him back, and I think Alonso will find more success with that.
I think Alonso's found some pace coming into this long DRS zone. DRS is now open for George Russell, but I think he is still too far back. He is definitely closing that gap, but not fast enough into that braking zone of 9 and 10.
Yeah, so George Russell struggling to hold on to Alonso entering that DRS zone. And Alonso does just enough to basically avoid having to even defend away from him, just has to hold on to his lines, which is very clever, again, as we expect from such an experienced driver. George Russell getting a little bit of a lesson right now in how to defend, and not only that, but getting taught, if you want to try and overtake me, you've got to do something new.
Sainz on the radio now saying his tyres don't feel great. Luckily, there's only about 3 laps left of this race. He doesn't have to put up with it for very long.
But does that mean that Leclerc could possibly try and take the race win here? Because I think if Leclerc gets close to Sainz,
4.2 seconds. I mean, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it happening either. But the gap's dropping very quickly, 3.8 now. So
that is true.
So will there be team orders here? Will Sainz and Leclerc be fighting each other right at the end here? Oh, this could be very interesting.
They can't fight. That's going to put them into the clutches of Lando Norris and the McLarens.
Imagine they fight, they take each other out. That'd be so Ferrari, actually. It would be so Ferrari. The very final lap, we'll see them fight it out as the fastest lap is put in by Charles Leclerc. Look, I think the gap is still too big for them to catch up.
I think Leclerc is finding more pace than Sainz is dropping pace.
So, watching this battle again, George Russell's going to try and look, although
takes a look to the inside, and Alonso just defends again.
Yeah. He made up 1.3 seconds, Leclerc, in the final lap, to Carlos Sainz ahead of him. So, a lot of time was made up by Charles Leclerc. But I still don't think there's enough time for Charles Leclerc to try and get ahead of Carlos Sainz, and probably deservedly, because I think Carlos Sainz needs this race win more than Charles Leclerc does. I think he's earned the right to win this race far more than Charles Leclerc has.
People saying bye-bye Kevin in the comment section. I don't know what that's for. Oh, Sainz is catching up to Kevin Magnussen. That would be why. So he's been lapped. I think people are taking more interest in the lapped cars than they're taking in the actual battles that are still happening out on circuit. The gap from Sainz to Leclerc now is sitting at 3.4 seconds. So it is closing a little bit more, with Sainz struggling a little bit in these final closing stages with grip. We've got 2 laps left. They're on lap 57 of 58 as Carlos Sainz is about to come around and start the final lap of this race.
Indeed, so Carlos Sainz comes across that start-finish line for, as you said, the final lap of Melbourne, Australia 2024. The gap.
Massive crash, huge crash from George Russell. What has he done? Massive crash from himself.
That's going to be an immediate safety car.
That's a red flag. That's a red flag.
Oh my word, he's literally parked the car in the middle of the track.
He's crashed where Alex Albon crashed.
Oh my word.
That's turn 6 and 7. Huge crash. He's up in the middle of the road. Ooh, gosh, that would be they're going to virtual safety car to the end of the race.
And the virtual safety, they have to go off the track to avoid George Russell, all these cars. So that's a disappointing way to enter. Russell says he's okay, which is good to hear. But my word, huge crash there for George Russell. Clearly tried to make a move on Fernando Alonso. Was just too desperate to try and get pace to make up that position. And has lost all the points for Mercedes right at the end of this race here. Looking at those cars getting past, they literally have to go onto the grass to avoid him.
Double huge DNF for Mercedes today. That is huge.
And the cars literally pivoted right in the middle of the track, and they all have to go off into the grass to get past them. So it's such a disappointing way to end.
He went off. He did go into the barriers down the left, just behind the timing board. That is huge shunt, massive shunt. But again, I know it's very. I don't really want to talk about it so early, but I was going to say so. Saying it's a big test of George Russell's mentality for taking that first position seat in terms of Mercedes, and he's not doing very well with it. No, it's not the first time he's done this. I was going to say, it's not the first time he's folded under the pressure, chasing someone down in the final laps. It happened last year in Singapore, and it's happened again now.
Yeah, terrible crash there for I mean, so disappointing for Sainz to end under a virtual safety car, but he does win the Melbourne Grand Prix, a 1-2 for Ferrari. Brilliant race for Ferrari. They are so chuffed there. The Spanish flag is out for Carlos Sainz. Charles Leclerc takes second home as well. Lando Norris in third and Piastri in fourth. So great races for the Ferraris and the McLaren. Sergio Perez only finishes up there in fifth. Aston Martin gets some good points as a result of that crash. 6th and 7th.
Does Haas.
Yes.
Double points for Haas in Australia. A phenomenal day for them as well. To talk our way through the grid, once again, Carlos Sainz finishes the race in first. Charles Leclerc in second. Lando Norris then in third. Homeboy Piastri finishing down in fourth. He got quite close to a podium, but unfortunately wasn't able to make that work here today. As Perez is in fifth, Alonso sixth, Stroll seventh, Tsunoda eighth, Hülkenberg ninth, Magnussen 10th, Albon so close to points in 11th. Daniel Ricciardo, the other home driver, in 12th. Gasly 13th, Bottas 14th, Zhou Guanyu 15th, and then the retired drivers, Russell 16th, Ocon 17th, 18th, Hamilton, and 19th, Max Verstappen. Just watching a replay here of George Russell just gets too close to Alonso in the braking zone, loses it in the braking zone, goes into the gravel, hits into the barriers, and unfortunately that was his race over on the final lap.
Funny enough, it's not actually as big a crash as I thought it was. It was he just couldn't fix the car too much after the rear end
braking.
Which is a good thing, hopefully, because it means he shouldn't be hurt at all. I mean, it
didn't look like a high energy impact, at least.
Yeah,
a lot of speed did get scrubbed off by the gravel. It was just more the fact that he went over his own tires that threw his car up in the air. That's going to be a new gearbox, possibly a new engine, new chassis as well, more than likely, by the looks of the damage on there. Disappointing for George Russell, but that's what happens when you try overtake Fernando Alonso.
Fernando Alonso just again giving a lesson on how to drive. Apparently, George Russell following up maybe a little bit too closely and got some dirty air, and as a result, he got spun out a little bit.
Russell just gets impatient and makes slight errors when he is under this pressure. He's trying to get that move done on the final lap, breaks a little bit too late, locks up his rears, and completely stuffs up his entire race.
Again, I think it's a lesson in intelligence for George Russell. He needs to be clever about how he goes about his lap. He needs to find areas where he needs to just be better in terms of hitting lines, and then he needs to come out of that DRS so very well. I mean, that was nowhere near the DRS area that he goes and makes that crash. That was at the end of it. So I mean, just again, disappointment for George Russell. He ends now, as I say, results. They could have got some decent points there as it was after a terrible race for Mercedes, essentially, but still would have got points. As a result, no points. I mean, Haas got more points than Mercedes today in 10th and 9th. A double points position for Haas. And Ferrari, though, incredible race for them. First and second.
Brilliant.
How many years since this?
It has been quite some time, I'm sure, since the last double podium or 1-2 from Ferrari. Brilliant, though, for them here today. And I'm sure we're going to be speaking about this for quite some time. What a race that was. Bit of a dramatic start with, of course, Max Verstappen having to retire on lap 3 because of a brake failure. His brakes just completely smoking up the whole time, unfortunately for himself, having to pull out of the race. And then we did have that engine failure from Lewis Hamilton as well. And then George Russell, of course, on the final lap having that crash. Very, very exciting day, though, I think, with the double Ferrari podium. Lando Norris in 3rd, Piastri in 4th. Just to go through the grid one more time, then Sergio Perez in 5th. He also had a bit of a tricky day out on circuit today, but damage limitation making it back up into 5th position. Brilliant day from the 2 Aston Martins. They started quite far down, I think. Alonso started 10th and Stroll 9th, if I remember correctly, which is really quite good for the 2 of them. They're now in 6th and 7th. Tsunoda, also a brilliant day out for himself. I think he stays the same. He hasn't moved or lost any positions throughout the day. But again, a brilliant result from the 2 Haas drivers, making up 7 positions for Nico Hülkenberg and 4 positions for Kevin Magnussen to finish in 9th and 10th. Albon then, so close to points. Disappointing. He's made up 1 position, but not good enough to get points here today in Logan Sargent's car. Daniel Ricciardo then in 12th. He's made up 6 positions. Still not phenomenal for him. I would expect him to be doing a lot better, getting closer to Yuki Tsunoda up in the points. Do you agree?
I mean, look, to be fair, I mean, as I say, he's made up 6 positions, which is more than any other driver. No, actually, Stroll. No, it's more than any other driver today.
6 positions.
So 6 positions.
No, Hülkenberg made up 7.
Yes, he did. So second most positions. Do correct me. It's correct.
But it's mostly because of the DNFs.
Exactly. It's mainly down to the DNFs, as well as I think, that car is quicker than the Alpines and the Saubers, so he should make up those positions in any case. So still some work to do for Daniel Ricciardo, but just finishing off there, of course, the Alpines and the Kick Saubers, absolutely garbage from them as per usual. 13th Gasly, 14th and 15th Bottas and Zhou after some terrible pit stops there. And Ocon still finishes behind them in 16th.
And just reading in the comment section, Sainz is the only person to break Max Verstappen's win streak. He's done it twice. That is,
and they're getting rid of him.
Yeah, and they're getting
rid of him.
So I think Ferrari are going to be kicking themselves a little bit. Of course, they're getting a very experienced driver in Lewis Hamilton, but
he doesn't finish races.
Yeah, but you have to think, why are we getting rid of a phenomenal driver like Carlos Sainz, who's dominating essentially their number 1 driver, Charles Leclerc, who they've penned in for quite some time at Ferrari.
Yeah.
But that has been a phenomenal race from us here at Forever Motorsports. Thank you very much for joining us. Do be sure to vote and become a member of the channel as well. Yes.
Just one more thing. This is also after having to go out of the previous Grand Prix weekend with appendicitis and no appendix, comes into this weekend having not raced that weekend and comes in to win.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Phenomenal comeback after that Saudi Arabian Grand Prix where he wasn't able to take place, but just absolutely phenomenal. We're looking forward to the next race out in Japan. Please be sure to join us for that. Thank you very much for all of you for chatting to us in the comment section as well today. It has really helped make our life a little bit easier to chat alongside you guys. Currently looking at the points classification, Carlos Sainz picks up another 25 points from today. And Alex Albon, looking down in 11th place, gets nothing, unfortunately. Waiting for the Drivers' Championship, hopefully, to come up so we can see how that changes. I don't think it changes too much. Max Verstappen should still be in that first points position. But Carlos Sainz should be second now, I'm hoping.
Or maybe third,
depending because of missing last weekend out.
So I'm not sure it's going to come up anytime soon for us. I think they're going to do other things first. But, of course, Charles Leclerc takes home the fastest lap of the day, so he gets an extra point for that. He gets 19 points. For today. So a huge points haul for Ferrari. All the points available, they get them all. So great race from us. And I think we'll probably end it there as a few Ferrari fans look down at their idols.
And the post-race interviews are hosted by Gunther Steiner. They've flown him out to Australia to do the post-race interviews. That is hilarious. But yes, thank you so much for joining us here today on Forever Motorsports. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are not already. We've got Moto GP coming up later this afternoon. Be sure to join us for that if you're a Moto GP fan. I'm sure there'll be tons of you all watching alongside with us. Those streams are becoming massive on this channel. So we're getting a brilliant Formula One community and a Moto GP community here on the Forever Motorsports page. Be sure to join them if you are mad about motorsports as we are. But thank you very much from myself, Reese, and Mark alongside me. We have been here on Forever Motorsports. Cheers. Awesome. Thank you very much.